because the KDF are deployed, whether they are hidden in the barracks or not. What is this that Ruto is anticipating? What is this that Dwale is anticipating, that they want to leave the military deployed? Is this because, as Raila Odinga told me, that this is a student of Yoweri Museveni, who governs through the military? So I cannot put anything past this president, because a man who can see 12-year-old children being shot 10 bullets, 70, you are talking about 41 people dead, and not even a government minister attending any funeral. Why do you think this man, if things go south, they cannot bring in the military? As we speak today, I saw Kenyans in Muranga take over a police station because they did not believe that the murderer, who was alleged to have committed a crime, would be taken for justice. So they raided the police station and they killed him, just as we speak. So my question is, and to the people that are doing the demonstrations, including all of us, we have to keep asking the question, why is there a legal military deployment in Kenya? And in fact, who has to benefit from it? And what chaos is there in Kenya that requires that? Or is somebody going to manufacture a problem like they did when they went to Githurai the other day? And they created a problem. Are they going to sponsor some kind of terrible issue and call it a problem? The other third and final issue I want to raise is the issue on corruption. I am looking at what happened the other day to the former governor of Migori, who was charged with crimes of up to 1.9 billion. And somewhere, the executive and others are negotiating with him to go scot-free, catch some property of 200 million. Who knows what will happen to the other charges? You remember the MP for Cilicia, John Waluke, was jailed for stealing nearly 1 billion with National Cereal Produce Board. He was jailed and convicted for 67 years. He was serving a jail term, and the alternative was he had to pay back at least 1 billion that was lost by the government, and that is the only way in which he would otherwise be released. Today, as we speak, John Waluke ran for elections, convicted, he ran for elections. Nobody ever talks about him anymore. He's a friend of William Ruto. He's a central part of what's going on in Western Kenya and Western Kenyan politics. How can there be any nation on earth where a convicted and jailed member of parliament, stealing from the public, has been let loose to live and let live? We go to the deputy president, Gachagua, 200 and something million. Justice Minor of the High Court, before elections, had found Gachagua a case to answer. Over 200 million. We can go back to the Dubai plane hired by William Ruto, to Runturi at the Ministry of Agriculture, to the opulence of Mukomen and Oscar Sudi. And you can look at all these things and ask yourself, all this money is the motivation for which these people are in power. Finally, I want to say this. If we had not defeated the BBI, the only reason the BBI was defeated is because of Chapter 4 on the Bill of Rights. That people have a right to be consulted on how their constitution can be altered and by who. It must be people driven. This time round, the Jay-Z and all of us who are here to discuss these issues are seeing a people-driven revolution for a better government, because there is no valid contract between the governed and the government. And we have a right, inherent right, to break that contract. So mine today is to add my voice that there is no talks, there is no negotiating. And I can tell you, Raila Odinga lies to my face, and I'm telling the country as Tony Gashoka that he lied to me. And he lied to me why Ruto should not govern. And yet he's the same man now calling for other talks. And he's the same man who knows NADCO was never implemented. And he's calling for another NADCO, simply because he's been told by the president, this is conditional upon our deals going on, whether it's the African Union and everything else, but all other Kenyans be damned. I think that is my opening comment.
Thank you so much, Tony. And I hear some echo. Hillary or Kingsman, I don't know. Can you, Hillary, can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you well. I think oh yeah, that's everything is okay now.
Okay, thank you.
It was Tony's mic, but I've been able to mute him.
Okay,
Continue.
thanks. So, Tony, thank you for your submission. You bring out very important points. If I can just summarize the 4 points that you bring out is, the IBC that they're now reconstituting. There has been also a lot of people who are sharing your sentiments and are wondering if people need change and that the same people that want to reconstitute the IEBC, is it going to serve the purpose it is meant to serve? That's the question I hear out there. Another question I hear is when you mention about the arrangement of who should lead and who should not lead in the political elites. And that is exactly what was seen yesterday when all of a sudden all of them were seen on camera pulling together. And the feedback I got was they're now against the one inch. Now that we are sharing our problems, they're coming together, and so that really reflects what you're talking about. And the third point is the military deployment. This we will need a legal clarification, but we're very good to go because we have legal brains in the space today. And corruption is something that we have spoken about over and over, and actually it's the root cause of where we are. It starts, that is where, if we could really just drain the swamp, probably would have a chance. So you really bring very important points. Let's give the mic to the next speakers. We're going to just add on those points as they share. Dr. Miguna, kindly guide if you want to speak first, or if I should put Dr. Mutunga first. Either is fine with me here.
Yeah, Maj, I believe Dr. Mutunga said that he would speak when he wants to. I'm not sure that he wants to speak now. If he does, by all means, everyone is free to speak when they want to speak. I could add my voice if Dr. Mutunga does not want to speak now. And everybody else, you are free to contribute. This is a free platform. This is not BBI where the train left and nobody could get onto the train. We are having a discussion, a robust discussion. So, Dr. Mutunga, if you're not prepared to speak now, I could go on.
I'll come in after you, General.
Okay, thank you. I thank Tony for giving that historical background. I think it is very important for us to always ground ourselves on firm foundations of history. It was ironical that the same Ruto stated a few months ago, or maybe a year ago, that history is useless. He said some studies or some programs or courses or disciplines at the university level are useless, and history was one of them. The reason being is that dictators, tyrants, are very comfortable when they are presiding over countries where people don't remember their past, where people don't know what has happened before, the tragedies that have happened before, the errors that have been made before, the atrocities that have been committed before, the plunder that have happened before, so that they can judge the present. Without that historical context, you would not be able to judge the present. Number two, without a firm foundation and grasp of history, you would not be able to know who is deceiving you, who is duplicitous among you, who is always betraying the people. Raila Odinga, as Tony has said, has betrayed Kenyans since 1982. He betrayed Ochuka, Okumu, and all the people that participated in 1982 coup attempt against Moi, against the autocratic government of Moi. And everyone else that was with him was hanged. He was the only one who survived. The same thing happened in 2018 after I swore him in. They targeted me, they abducted me, they tortured me, they sedated me, they transported And Raila Odinga betrayed all the young people that died during the NRM protests and revolution of 2018. And there were a lot of people who died, and made a deal with Uhuru Kenyatta at night and turned up at Arambe House, quote unquote, having a handshake and saying that he was putting the country first, said that he was going to make sure that there was justice for those who had been killed and maimed and tortured, but then just failed his tummy and forgot about everybody else. Up to now, he did not attend any of the funerals of the young people that died in 2018, 2017, 2018. Raila Odinga has not mourned Chris Msando, who was murdered to prevent the elections of 2017 being credible and transparent. Raila Odinga never visited my home, never saw the destruction, never actually lifted a finger when I was being brutalized, and only came to the airport on the second attempt of me trying to come back to Kenya to pretend that he was showing some kind of solidarity, or he was in solidarity with me. But in fact, the people who are hearing his telephone calls as he sat there were telling me that he was talking with Matiang'i and the rest to keep me out of Kenya. This traitor has betrayed many, many, many people. It's all about his stomach. So when I saw him with the PS for Interior, Omolo, in Zanzibar, and then in Angola, I knew something was up. Because the question I asked myself, when did PS Omolo become PS for Foreign Affairs to be taking Raila around East Africa to campaign for his candidatures for AUC? Why was Raila doing this in the midst of people mourning the dead who had been brutalized by Ruto? Why was he doing this when bodies, not all bodies, had been recovered? When people who had been tortured were still, some of them, still in hospitals? When Ruto had not expressed any empathy and sympathy and had not condoled with families of those who had lost loved ones? Why was he doing this when Ruto had not even acknowledged that the deaths had been by police bullets? He blamed criminals, quote unquote, and he purported that the protesters were criminals and alleged that the protesters went to parliament and approached the armory in parliament to take weapons. The question is, until Ruto mentioned the armory, I didn't even know there was an armory in parliament. And if I did not know, and many of the people that I spoke with did not know, how the hell did he think that the Gen Zs who were just born the other day were aware that there was an armory in parliament and that they wanted to seize the weapons? Was any of the protesters caught with any weapon? The answer is no. Did they arrest anybody? And they have actually arrested and abducted a lot of people. Whom have they charged with breaking into the armory? Can anybody actually break into an armory barehanded? Who was guarding the armory? How many weapons went missing? He has not tabled this kind of information before us, but he's blaming the protesters. He said the protesters are the ones who shot at each other. So now he's saying the Gen Zs and the millennials who were protesting peacefully took guns from parliament and shot at each other. We had a sniper that was stationed at parliament buildings and who was purportedly hired by the speaker or maybe even Ruto himself, who killed many people. Has he been arrested? Was he actually a protester? The answer is no. We have evidence of a police officer who shot randomly wearing plainclothes and shot randomly into the crowd and killed people. And his name has been circulated. People know where he was stationed. Has he been arrested? No. We have other officers, including retired ones, who are currently seconded to the government in civilian, holding AK-47s, shooting at the crowds. Have these people been arraigned in court? No. Then we have many bodies, including Denzel Omondi, whose body was floating in a quarry after being abducted by the police. Have any of these people been apprehended and charged in court? No. So we know for a fact that Ruto is responsible for issuing the orders of shoot to kill against peaceful and armed protesters. Does he need a dialogue to deal with that issue? Does Ruto need to dialogue with anyone to deal with extrajudicial killings and reckless use of firearm against unarmed civilians? Of course not. Does Ruto need a commission or a committee or a task force to fire his corrupt ministers? No. Does Ruto need a task force to dissolve his government? No. Does Ruto need a task force to deal with impunity? No. Did Ruto need a task force to reconstitute the IEBC? No. So why did he wait this long? In any event, he has not reconstituted it. And we know for a fact that given the uprising of the Gen Zs, Ruto is mortally wounded. Ruto knows that in 2027, if we were to reach there, and I would suggest we don't, he would be toast. Kenyans would not be voting for him. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to choreograph a vessel, a vehicle, an outfit that can deliver a presidency on a silver platter. As Tony correctly stated, he has completely bought the National Assembly. So there are no checks and balances coming from the institution that is supposed to keep him under check. He has threatened and bought a significant portion of the judiciary. So the rule of law is a myth, a fictitious wish by many people. Ruto knows that the only check now he has are the young people on the streets. And he would like to cripple the young people by bringing PR stunts, choreographing task forces, illegal ones, and committees. And of course, the conman and his associates are always ready to assist them. Now, I have heard many people speak, including Ruto, and they talk about violence. We know for a fact that Kenyans that have been protesting have not been violent. We know that for a fact. We know that for a fact because the first 2 days of protest were very peaceful, with the exception of the police shooting and butchering people. We know for a fact that the demand initially was because of overtaxation and because of Finance Bill 2024. But as a result of Ruto's unbridled, atrocious response, the people have had no reason not to demand more. And right now, the demand on the street is that Ruto must go. So Ruto comes back and tells us he cannot go because he was elected and that his term is 5 years. But Ruto forgets that there is history in front of him, that contradicts him. As I have said many times, Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya vests the power on Kenyans to recall Ruto at any time and take back the power they donated to him as their representative and exercise it directly themselves. And there are precedents. And I'm going to go through the precedents so that we disabuse them of this notion that people cannot do this. And the precedents are not just in Kenya, they're all over the world. The first popular revolution in the world was in 1789, May 5th, 1789, in France. And that revolution took 5 years. It started on May 5th, 1789, and it lasted up to November 9th, 1799. So these people who are saying if the Gen Zs were not able to effect their revolution the first few days, then it is lost, they cannot succeed, are wrong. Because even the French did not do theirs in one day. They did not execute the French Revolution in 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month. It took 5 years to effect. Now, there are many that have taken a shorter period of time. And I'm only going to go through popular revolutions, not military ones, because that's what they want to suggest, that anybody who wants to remove them is looking to inflict violence or to use arms in order to remove him, that it is undemocratic and it is unconstitutional. The French Revolution was done by people on the street, and there was no use of weapon. Closer home, the Sudanese protests against al-Bashir dictatorship in December 2018 to April 11, 2019, 4 months, were also peaceful and did not involve the use of weapons. But al-Bashir, who was 1,000 times stronger than Ruto and had been in power for 30 years and was a military man, was removed from power. And he was removed peacefully, without violence. Yes, people would say later on the military got involved and caused chaos. But those chaos were not caused by the people. And it is not always true that the mistakes that are made in other countries will be repeated in another country. Now, let's go to Burkina Faso, also an African country, the protest happened between October 21st to October 31st and removed Blair Compaore. This one took 10 days. Again, a dictator who had been in power for more than 30 years was removed by people on the streets. Let's go to the Philippines, 1986, February 22nd to February 25th, 3 days, protest against Ferdinand Marcos, peacefully removed a dictator, a tyrant, without any gun being used. Let's go to Sri Lanka. Just the other day, March 2022 to July 2022, 4 months, they removed their tyrannical, their main tyrant, and he had to fled the country. Let's go to Romania in 1989. A dictator called Nicolae Ceausescu, again, was removed by police, by public peaceful protests. In other words, what am I saying? What I'm saying is that Kenyans must learn that we have historical precedents where a president that has become rogue, that does not respect the rule of law, that has abrogated the constitution, that subverts the rule of law, that has tried now to castrate all institutional mechanisms of accountability, can only be brought to account through protests, peaceful, huge protests. There is no reason to dialogue with this man because he has already demonstrated that he's not interested in having a discussion. If he was interested, he would have not unilaterally constituted a committee to have a discussion with the thugs and conmen and purported to have power to appoint 152 people to have a discussion, a monologue with him, a meeting that he chairs as the main culprit that has inflicted harm on Kenyans. He wants to chair this team. Also, he would not have unilaterally abrogated the rule of law and then decided that he constitutes a task force to audit debts that were acquired illegally, and then appoints one of the creditors, a representative of the IMF, to chair that team. Even after the people have told him, you are wrong, this is illegal, and the courts have also issued orders, interim orders, telling him that he cannot continue, he was still making an assertion yesterday and today that those teams will continue to work. So Ruto is incorrigible, is irredeemable, is rogue, cannot be reformed, cannot change, and must be removed from power. So I will end there and say that my suggestion, in a nutshell, is that because of historical context, I believe Kenyans should be holding these demonstrations daily. And I believe Kenyans should be chasing after senators, MPs, cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, senior bureaucrats, so that they cannot even go to their offices. We must make the country ungovernable wherever we are, so as to make this government fall so that we can go for fresh elections. That is not calling for chaos. That's calling for order, because chaos is the second name of this regime. I will end it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harry, for your contribution. And so I have two questions for you. First, I have a comment when talking about how people have been killed. There's an incident that actually occurred where, the name and the number of the policemen who murdered Kenyans was circulating online. And there's a Kenyan who called and asked him why he was killing the people. And he's on record. He was recorded saying, I'm sorry I did not shoot you too. So this shows, the level of confidence some of these people have while killing Kenyans. The policeman, nothing has happened to these policemen, and I think I posted about it in the morning and tagged also IPOA. I would like to request everybody else who's in the space and can help to really try to find a way that at least people who are working in the forces, or what has happened until now, just some justice can be, received for the victims, because it cannot be that the police were supposed to protect, even unethically, after killing somebody, go ahead and say to the citizen who's complaining that the only regret they have is why they didn't shoot. The question I have for you, Dr. Miguna, before I move to Dr. Mutunga, talking about the task forces, under normal circumstances, it is the opposition that should try to stop the ruling party. Do you believe that if the opposition was working in Kenya, they would be able to stop, or do you think they would still be outnumbered with the numbers that the current ruling party have? Just 1 minute, and then I give the mic to Dr. Mutunga.
Oh, thank you, Madge, and thank you for that anecdote. If the opposition was working as an opposition, by this time they would have brought a motion of impeachment. But you see, they're not even talking about impeachment. If the opposition was working as an opposition, they would have joined the Gen Zs and the millennials on the streets demonstrating against Ruto. But they have not done that. If the opposition was working as an opposition, They would have opposed Ruto publicly, consistently, and throughout, very loudly, telling him that he had no power to deploy the military on the streets, that was illegal, that he had no power to form the task forces, and they would never have joined Ruto in calling for dialogue. But as you can see, the so-called consultation was between Ruto and Raila Odinga only. Even Kalonzo Musyoka is complaining that he was not involved in the discussions. So we do not have a body, an animal we can call the opposition. What we have in Kenya is an animal we cannot describe. It's not an opposition. And these so-called leaders are not leaders. These are organized mafia, organized cartel. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised today in the morning. Somebody sent me a clip of a former spokesman of Moi who called them just that. So imagine if the former spokesperson of Moi, the dictator that terrorized us for 24 years, can look at these men and say, you know, they are all the same. These are all cartels. They belong to one club, and even after they retire, they will continue to loot public resources because they have passed laws that guarantees that they keep stealing. So what do we need? We need a reset. We need to transform our political, legal, and cultural infrastructure so that we remove from the system this continuous culture of impunity and exploitation. So no, the short answer is no, we don't have a normal opposition. And if we did, yes, they would have brought this government to account.
Thank you so much. So my assumption is that the current opposition in the country is the population and the Gen Zs plus every other citizen that's protesting out there. Okay, so now, Dr. did you want to say something before I go to Dr. Mutunga?
I wanted to agree with you. Okay. The Gen Zs right now and the millennials on the street is the opposition.
Thank you. Dr. CJ Mutunga, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that what happened yesterday, is a great thing, because in this country there's been a narrative that I've always myself found opportunistic and historical. The narrative that the two factions, that the two ruling class factions, within them, there is one that is a lesser evil. There are people, academics, politicians and others who basically advance this narrative whenever there are elections. That of the two factions, let's choose the lesser evil. And I think it's unacceptable, because if who chooses between evil? It's nobody chooses, between evil. And what happened yesterday is what we have been saying all along, that these two factions and their political parties are basically birds of the same political feather. Okay, and they come together when their class is challenged, and that's what has happened. So I hope going forward, this narrative that sees the various factions, and these factions are grounded on monetization and ethnicity. That's how they organize politics, and they also share these values. Well, they are not values, evils of corruption, stealing resources, wasting resources, and we're talking about a dictatorship that is going to be 61 years old in December, okay? And I think you remember there was a time when Moi said that, well, Kanu will rule you for 100 years. They have already ruled us for 61. The people who you saw meeting yesterday, they are all orphans, you know, of the Kanu dictatorship. There is not a single one of them, you know, that can claim that they are not part of that 61-year-old, you know, dictatorship. So, you know, Hillary was right when he talked. I don't know whether it's Hillary or somebody else. I guess it was Kingston, when he talks of self-preservation and survival, okay? Those are great words about classes, you know, that they come together for self-preservation and survival. So that's important to know. And the other thing that made me very, very happy was the demand by the Gen Z that they were going to occupy World Bank and IMF. Because in terms of politics, you have to connect the foreign interest with the people who rule us, okay? And analyze very, very clearly why our leaders, or these two factions, are enslaved by foreign interests, and why they take, you know, orders from foreign interests, and they've never participated in any public participation. Okay, you know, look at the case of Haiti. Okay, we were not consulted. Look at the case of Palestine. We were not consulted. When the courts say that police officers can be, deployed in Haiti, it's unconstitutional. That particular court order is disobeyed. And in my books, if we are going to talk about the rule of law, then any government that subverts the rule of law is illegitimate. So it's very, very, very important that, as Miguna says, as a people demonstrate, as mass action goes on, it's very, very, very important to make, you know, that connection, because that connection is important, you know, in my view. So the so the other thing, and this is now talking to the well, before I do that, let me talk about task forces, and I give some history. I'm not going to give it the way Miguna has brilliantly given it in terms of dates and so forth, because I haven't done that work. And thanks Miguna for articulating these popular revolutions and uprisings. So when it comes to task force in this country, there's a history of destructing, you know, movements through the formation of task forces. Okay, and I'll give you examples of a few. When J.M. Kariuki was killed, March 2nd, I think that's when his body was discovered, 1975. The system very quickly set up a parliamentary commission that was headed by somebody called Mwangale, Elijah Mwangale, who was, I think, MP for where Mukiza Kitui was MP. I don't know what that constituency is called. And it's what that parliamentary commission did was to really diffuse the tensions, because people were very angry about JM's murder. The universities took to the streets, and so to diffuse, that particular popular unrest, this commission was quickly formed. When it's reported, nothing was done. Even the parliament tried to change some of the findings, and nothing was done. Then in 91, I think, after the ethnic clashes in Rift Valley, there was a Kiumi commission. A lot of time taken there. People having this hope that there was going to be a solution. Those involved were going to be prosecuted and jailed. Nothing happened. Okay, Ouko, Robert Ouko was killed, I believe, 1990. There was what was called the Troon Commission. They brought this British guy from Scotland Yard, to deal with, to do the investigations. And then there was a commission chaired by the late Chief Justice Kisheru. Richard Kwach was in that commission as well. And it was a board, commission actually, and the Moi saw exactly where that commission was headed, and it is bandaged. And those who are suspected of Ouko's murder were arrested. They were never charged, and there were no prosecutions. I think a lot of the millennials who remember the Work Commission, or even the Gen Z, I think this is 2007. After that election, there was the Work Commission. Okay, and when you look at all those commissions, the common denominator, in my view, is that they were used to diffuse popular uprisings, to make sure that the public anger, dissipated, and that will be it. And they use these task forces, like the Ouko thing. If those of you remember, Ouko was supposed to have shot himself in the leg and doused himself with acid and burned himself. That was basically the theory that the government, advanced. So task forces, commissions of inquiry, whenever there are issues, and Miguna made this point, who appoints them? It's the culprits, the people that we suspect are the criminals between what has happened. Okay, so it's we should reject them. The other thing that is historical in terms of demonstrations and mass action over years is the fact that the criminal elements, people have talked about goons, they've talked about criminals. What we have known all along is that within the police force, there is always a criminal gang. And that gang invariably reports to the president and not to their superiors. And they have been dangerous. those of you who are of my generation will remember the famous Gorokos. You know, they were supposed to be taking care of the cattle wrestling, yes, in certain areas. They didn't do that. In fact, they spent a lot of time in the 70s trying to intimidate President Moi to resign, and they were involved in what was called the Change the Constitution movement during that period, so that President Moi would not automatically succeed Jomo Kenyatta in the event he died in office. And the others, you know, you must have heard of Kwekwe, you know, the flying squad. And even the current one, I think, is called Rhino. They have, you know, names. And the politicians themselves have militia, okay? You must have heard of Raila's Men in Black, okay? You must have heard, or you might not have, but a lot of people of my generation would know that in 1997, Ngumo had a militia called Jesh la Mzee that terrorized us during the mass action during that period. So when the president talks about criminals and the gangs, he is not telling the truth. And I honestly, I don't think if he tells the truth, it must be by accident. And even that one, I wouldn't believe it. So the gangs and the Gen Z have seen this clearly, that these people join the demonstrations and they do stuff, and the police seem to, you know, to protect them. And so the of course they are deployed to completely make people angry against the peaceful demonstrators, because they'll say, oh, these people are destroying property, you know, they are stealing and so forth. And it's wrong for us to accept that dialogue or that argument, because a government that cannot protect property and lives actually is illegitimate. And that's a legal position as well, a political as well as a political one. If you are in government and you cannot support, protect lives and the property of the citizens, then you are illegitimate. And there is a lot of evidence that we have seen where the police, you know, watch as people, you know, commit crimes. So this narrative about gangs and whatnot, okay, if the state was actually protecting the demonstrators from the gangs and making sure that the gangs don't steal or destroy property, then I'll be persuaded. But they are the ones who resurrect them, because those gangs are always, you know, there. I mean, we've all known about Mungiki, for example. All right. So that narrative should not actually, you know, be accepted. But I just wanted to finish by, you know, celebrating the Gen Z for expressing, you know, their anger, you know, you know, protesting, you know, this uprising or this revolution, and I look at it also as a generation that is also telling the government that they have to respect constitutions, they have to respect the rule of law, that they have to respect the human rights of Kenyans, and they are talking about the material interests of the youth and the Kenyans, and that's politics of issues for me. And I think it's very, very important, and I think it should be, continued. The JNC will have to decide, and I'm sure probably they have already decided, because I know they have political parties and social movements, that particular generation. So basically, we don't need to to advise you. It's your movement. We glorify it for the reasons that I've given. Go ahead and decide on your political and ideological positions. Make sure you continue making your political demands, and watch out for politics of division through ethnicity. The factions you are dealing with, be very good at organizing politics on the basis of ethnicity and the monetization, and also they know they have the backing of foreign interests. So those are some of the things you have to to watch out. Watch out that narrative. People coming to say, oh well, just work with this faction. The dialogue we are being invited to is a monologue, but to obviously expose you to either manipulation or bribes or whatever. So I think I salute your mass action, and I just wanted to finish. Kachoka asked me to comment on Article 241 of the Constitution, that is the deployment of the military under that particular section, article, and the paragraph. I think that, in fact, the paragraphs, they use the wrong paragraph, all right, okay, because and even the ones they try to use, we didn't have an emergency or disaster, okay, in the country. Constitutional mass action under 37, Articles 37 of the Constitution cannot be called an emergency or a disaster. Nor can it, the other C, that paragraph C that Kashoka was talking about Parliament, giving approval. It also says that the military may be deployed to restore peace in any part of Kenya affected by unrest or instability, but only with the approval of the National Assembly. I don't agree that the mass action that were constitutional and that invoked the Constitution and the rule of law can be described as unrest or even instability. I think this one is like when you have some areas, and I think you have some areas in the Rift Valley where there are such deployments. But what was happening, in the last few weeks was not unrest or instability. It was peaceful. It was young people expressing their anger constitutionally, exercising their freedom of expression, assembly, movement. So, in my opinion, what we are being prepared for is a declaration of state of emergency, which is under 58, Article 58 of the, of the 58 of the Constitution. And that, when you look at that, provision, I think it's 58. Yes, it is. When you look at that, article of the Constitution, you will find, yeah, it's called state of emergency. You find that the person who does it, okay, it's the president, okay, who declares it, that state of emergency, and of course it lasts for 14 days. Then it can be extended by parliament for 2 months, and also it's subjected to uh, legal action. The Supreme Court may decide on the validity of the declaration of state of emergency, and that means that citizens can, of course, go to Supreme Court and challenge the validity of this state of emergency. But I think that's probably where we are headed, and we should be prepared for it. But even if there is that declaration, as I was said, the conditions are also pretty strict in terms of the timelines, in terms of the the challenge. So I'll stop there, and thank you very much, for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. And yes, just a comment and some few questions before I open now the floor to everyone to just ask questions. Dr. Miguna mentioned not having knowledge, or no, having to be really just not having knowledge beforehand about the armory, and was suggesting that it would be difficult for the average population to know where this is, and so there were comments around, or concerns, that even the parliament, when the demonstrators say they were going to occupy it, that it was indeed understaffed, and of course this is the government to come out and say something about it. But there is an impression that probably the police were not really well prepared, or did not want to. So it was more of, it could be also just a setup. And there's also some news that was going on about the CCTV of the parliament not being found. So these are all information that are really causing anxiety in the population when they think, okay, is there something being hidden? So probably it would be good for people, for the concerned, or the people who have the mandate, to also really inform the citizens, so that citizens do not need to have suspicions. So the question I have for you, so regarding the deployment of the military, as we saw, okay, in your opinion, you say what happened is not exactly an arrest or instability, and we saw that the approval was from the parliament was actually retrieved after, which was not in line with it. And so what can we do about it at this point? Are the citizens just going to wait for it to take the course that it's taking, or is there a way of actually retrieving it back, so that we don't have the military deployment on the side, because that is also causing anxiety in the population? If you can answer to that, then the second question, I see your mic, Kingsman. The second question is yesterday the ruling party and the opposition decided that they're going to form a government of national unity. Does the ruling party legally still have the mandate to do that? Over to you, Dr. The two questions.
Yeah, I think I tried to explain the article, this article 241, that was used, and you have already said that even the so-called approval they got was what we call retrospective. They didn't go to Parliament under that particular paragraph before they did what they did. And I was just arguing that there is no way what was happening could be described as emergency or disaster or unrest or instability. It was a constitutional expression, by the young people, and they actually, used the supreme law to make those demands. Okay, so they have to be praised for doing that. Okay, and as to about the armory that you raised, it's not even a matter of our concern. It's blatant lies. Okay, blatant lies that the people who are so peaceful, were also raiding an armory, in parliament, and they were preparing for a coup d'etat. Okay, it's Kibaki who used to say, and I think he said that, and everybody remembers what he said when his election, 1988, when he was winning during the Q elections, and the presiding officer in Odhaya wanted actually to declare the person who was losing the winner, and Kibaki told the presiding officer, my friend, even rigging elections requires intelligence, and you don't seem to have any intelligence. Those lies that are being told about the Gen Z are lies, and they are lies that are being told by people who are not intelligent. Okay, they are utilitarian. And I think the regime will keep on lying and lying until you accept lies, as truth, and that would be my position. And I think Miguna also had a brilliant case about it. He asked brilliant questions about it. Okay, what has happened? And those questions he was asking, anchoring them, on the state's responsibility to protect our lives and property. Okay, why haven't they investigated? Okay, so I think that would be my position. This invocation of 241, in my view, as I said, is to prepare us, so to test the waters, as we said, to see how we would react, to the deployment of the military. And I've already explained that if that happens, we should be prepared to challenge it. Because the only way I can see, in the old days, of course, a state of emergency would be declared, and there were no limitations and there are no constraints. So, and then people will be basically intimidated that way. And all states want to create fear. Okay, so as we go forward, we should remember what Comrade Julius Wajira has always said. You lose your fear, they lose their power. Okay, so that will actually be our position, and we need to explain it to Gen Z. We'll have to explain it to parents, friends, everybody, that there will be challenges at some point. As I've said, they might challenge their movement on the basis of ethnicity. We have heard this, oh, this is Akiku, this, or this is this, or these people, whatever. And I've seen also that the ethnic militias that were on parade in Eldoret. Those are the kind of things that we should pay attention to. And I just wanted to end by reminding people who remember the demonstrations that were taking place in the world, Paris, Seattle. There was a guy, a young man in that demonstration, and the Gen Z have really been fantastic in their placards and slogans and their demands, and they have also been fantastic in their humor. So this guy was demonstrating, had a T-shirt where he was basically telling the ruling elite in the world, that at that point the population of the world was 6 billion. And he said, you're just 60,000, I think he said, but we are 6 billion. Okay. And I think that's the position Miguna was making, that popular uprisings and where people are involved, all people are involved, and they are peaceful, they are unstoppable. And so I wanted to end on that note in answering your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ray, for your response. Kinsman, please take a go, and then we open the session for Q&A.
I think mine was just an addition to what Dr. Dr. Mutunga has touched on, and what also Dr. Miguna spoke about. Mine was just on the utterances of one of members of parliament who was overheard in some local stations talking about that if he was in charge of this country, or if he was the president by now, he should have killed as many Gen Zs as possible by killing at least 5,000 Gen Zs a day. And as we are speaking as of now, no action has been taken against him. And as the Daktari was saying, these things that they are mentioning, I don't know, they have an armory in parliament. Is it that they are preparing us for something that we don't know? Dr. Miguna, back to you.
Oh, thank you, Kingsman. I think we are going to open the floor for all the other comments. But maybe Ruto was just trying to scare people. Maybe, some of these people are cowards. It's possible that there is even no armory at Parliament. I mean, why would there be an armory in Parliament? I didn't know about it. That was the first time I was hearing about it. Parliament is not a military installation. So you would have police officers that are guarding it, but an armory, that's a new word. It could be that in order to instill fear on Kenyans and the Gen Zs and millennials, for example, he wanted to lie to say that there is an armory so that people think that, we don't go back there because they could slaughter all of us. And of course, now you make the statement, you remind us of Farah Maalim, the MP for Dada, who basically said that he would commit mass murder at an industrial scale if he was president. I mean, this is done in the midst of the protests. And after so many people have lost their lives, so many people have been abducted, and some are still missing. He says this. And he says this without any kind of uproar, no condemnation from his fellow legislators, no condemnation from Ruto himself. Actually, significantly, no condemnation from Raila Odinga and the ODM leadership. Like, this is unbelievable. And of course, he hasn't been apprehended. If for nothing else, if Ruto was intelligent and had emotional intelligence, he would have done and said something. What I get from all this is that we actually give these people more credit than they deserve. These guys are not intelligent at all. These guys actually have no clue how to manage even a chicken coop. Ruto is supposed to be a chicken seller and probably a chicken grower, or what do you call somebody who rears chicken? But he does not have the intelligence of chicken. Even chicken would know that you don't do that. That after this attack that his goons have had on the people, you don't go there and have your people threatening them, boasting about what you've done, congratulating the police for killing people. But that's what they have done. Essentially, what they are saying, well, there's nothing you can do. You did a protest, I killed some of you, I will kill more, and there's nowhere I'm going. I think that this kind of arrogant chest beating should have the counter reaction by the Gen Zs through huge protests to show him that this country does not belong to you and does not belong to these people that you control through public resources. Because to tell you the truth, what I saw there yesterday, the men, and they were all men, they were all old men. See, a lot of us think that some of us are of the generation of those men. Most of those men, except Ruto and probably Kingi, are even of my generation. But they were all men, old men, very old men. And there is nothing about, I'm not complaining about their age, but I'm saying, can you imagine having a meeting at Kenyatta International Conference Center about the crisis that has been brought by popular protests of very young people, teenagers mostly, and you don't have even one Gen Z and one millennial amongst you, and you don't have a woman, not one woman? Like, he has women in his cabinet. He has women in the bureaucracy. He has PSS and whatnot. He has women in his administration. But he couldn't think of one single woman that could attend that gathering. They couldn't think of any youth, even the ones they have bought, even the most useless like Itumbi. They couldn't have that. They couldn't even have Otero that they bought the other day. They couldn't have a lie. They couldn't have any of these people. Of course, a lie is not a youth, but I mean, they couldn't have anybody that looks young. That's the kind of arrogance that you have. That you
Even
can act.
even Karen Nyamu Daktari, continue.
Correct. They couldn't even have the socialite bimbos. I mean, these are the people that they are normally comfortable around. The empty-headed, beautiful looking flower girls and boys. They couldn't even have that. So the kind of arrogance, the kind of tone deafness, the kind of entitlement that you have in this country cannot change until we do something so radical that it would just send all crooks either to committee or into exile or into hiding permanently for the rest of our lives. Nothing else is going to sort out this problem. And you saw it yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harry. Yes, the picture or the show, it was not diverse. I agree with you. And as we open the Q&A session now, let's start with Anna, Ndolo, Joel, and Nelson in that order, 2 minutes each. And the main speakers can feel free to chime in between. Otherwise, we will just go through and answer their questions after the 4 are through. Anna?
Thank you much, Hillary King's Daktari. Today we have another Dr. Tani and everybody else on the space. To be honest, Marge, I don't have a question, but I wanted to add on to the African Union chairmanship seat. I wanted to bring another dimension to it, of which is a fact. First, we've seen Raila giving a speech in regards to that and said, I was approached and I was told that you befit that chair. So for that reason, that's why I am going to do it. There is the race for that chair was actually between Ruto and Fozia of Somalia, Dr. Fozia of Somalia. Now, in the mix of this, 6 months later, some deal was done between Ruto, the Djibouti guy, president of Djibouti. We've seen Ruto giving Djiboutis a free visa and all that. So the Djibouti aspect came in when they saw that maybe Fuzia is getting a lot of momentum, and this is information coming from Somalia. Now, they asked the guy in Djibouti to come in as a competitor as well for that chairmanship seat. And then Fozia was told to step down by the president of Somalia when she asked why. And this is after doing their campaign 8 months down the line. 7-8 months down the line, Fozia is told, remember, Djibouti came into the mix 6 months after Raila and Fozia of Somalia. Now, Djibouti, currently the story has, and from the Fozia herself, we hosted a space for her, said she was called by the president of Somalia and the prime minister, and she was told, there is somebody else who we are leaving this seat for, so you need to step down. And she said, okay, but for what are the reasons? Are we exchanging something for our nation? In that order, I will step down, but give me a reasonable reason. I've put a lot of effort, time, money, campaigns. At this time, Fozia was also backed up by the parliamentarian in Somalia. She had a full backing of the parliament. She had full backing of everybody when she was submitting her applications. When that happened, I will finish much. When that happened now, the reason Djibouti is coming into the mix is for this lady to step down, and then Djibouti does not have the person they've put into the competition does not have a chance against Ruto. So this way, against Odinga. So
Yeah,
this
thanks,
way,
thanks.
Ruto gets rid of
Thanks. I was going
Odinga.
to, when you said Ruto the whole time, I was thinking, okay, what does she mean? But thanks for correcting that.
No,
Yes,
it's
thank you.
Odinga.
Yeah.
Yes, correction. Yeah. So, so this way, the guy from Djibouti does not have a chance of winning the seat against Raila. So this thing is being cooked from a lot of aspects. For those who don't know, it's not only within Kenya that Ruto is told to step out to vie for this chairmanship, but it's gone to the extent of asking a Somalian candidate to step down who had a very good chance. Remember, this seat actually it's over how many years that a woman has not sit on that. So she looked a lot favorable for a lot of countries. And when they saw that threat, and Ruto wants to make sure that Raila gets to that chair and he's out of his way and out of his neck. So they approached Djibouti. And now, as we speak, the lady from Somalia, her president has refused to give her the endorsement letter. So that means he is going to be out of the contest. And this to guarantee a chairmanship for Ruto, for Raila. So Ruto is going to a lot of extent. It looks like Ruto and Raila are now, I think, Dr. You've been vindicated. They are all in the same bed. They're all in the same group, and they're going to even far countries out of Somalia to make sure, out of Kenya, to make sure Ruto goes to the AU. And there's a lot more that they're cooking for the AU and within those chair. It's not just Ruto, Uhuru, Raila to be on that seat, but there is more that they need to cook up. So I think this gang, they're far deep. They're far dangerous than we think. They're more connected than we think. And there is a lot much worse that they're doing, even outside Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. I think I'll give, Dr. Terry has raised his hand. He can get back to you, and then I'll say what I wanted to say to that. Over to you, General.
Yeah, Maja, I just wanted to say to Anna, this seat is irrelevant, and it is irrelevant to Kenyans, and it is useless. I have described it as equivalent to the Luo Council of Elders. It amounts to nothing with no power, so it's irrelevant. And number two, what happened yesterday was actually a very good thing. Many people would agree with me that having all this organized mafia, the cartels and the conmen in one basket is an excellent thing, because now it has sorted out all these kind of shenanigans. Kenyans can see who their enemies are. I've been talking about this thing for years, more than 10 years. And there are a lot of people who are abusing me, dismissing me, and hurling all manner of epithets. And yesterday they say, aha, finally, we now understand what you've been saying. So I think that Ruto has actually solved our problem, Ruto and Raila, by getting into one basket, something that they were not even able to do in 2018 when Raila got into bed with Kenyatta. You see, when Raila got into bed with Kenyatta, they left Ruto outside and they were conspiring against him and fighting him. So that way, the elite were fractured and they were confusing Kenyans through that fracture. Now they are all in one basket and we need to bury them all together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Terry, for that. Yes, just 1 minute to that. Ideally, if we do not have the corruption that we have in the country, I would expect the President of the Republic to be street smart. That means that even if they're knocking out Somalia, knocking out Djibouti, but for the interest of Kenya, that will be okay. If they're doing it in a legal way, that's just belongs to the street smartness of what one would expect of a president. Anna, I wouldn't have issues with them because other countries also protect their interests. It's only us who are not used to putting our interest first. So the chess they're playing there, of course, they're playing it under different circumstances. But if all factors were in order, I actually want to have a president who's street smart and knows how to put the interest of Kenya out there. Ndolo, then Nelson and Joel.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope I'm audible.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Dr. Miguna and Dr. William Mutunga, thank you very much for the conversation and for holding the spirit of patriotism and for being there even when people didn't believe you. Mine is a question of the general system in Kenya. I come from engineering background, and we have so many things, and you can see right now even engineers are agitating to occupy Engineers Board of Kenya. There is, I can give an example. In 2018, we had what is called the engineers rules of 20. It was by then it was a draft 2018, and they asked for comments, and comments were given. I remember we submitted comments. I myself wrote in the comment and submitted as a group. And unfortunately, when the rules were gazetted in the Kenya Gazette, we did not have the comments taken into consideration. Now, this has caused a lot of problems. Now, this is just an example that most of the public participation processes in the country are just a show. In the end, just to show that we as an institution, we have gone through the public participation process. However, the real concerns of the people are never taken into consideration. This could be a problem in all systems, all the way from mashinani up to the national. And we saw it during the finance bill, where last year actually was even worse, when they passed the finance bill without even having to look at the concerns of the people, cost of living and the rest. So this mtadu, I think in the Luo culture where you come from, in the Nyando region, Kano, they call it otada. This otadaness, how do we go against it? How do we go through this otada system? Thank you.
Thanks. That's taken. Joel and then Nelson. And because we have a lot of speakers, Tony, I see you. Take that before Joel goes. Go on, Tony.
Very briefly. I wanted to just tell Joel, remember, people get the leaders they deserve. We are concentrating, yes, on the Raila and Ruto issues, but remember, right from the MCA to the MPs, we have elected very poorly as Kenyans. Because in the older days, you had Wangari Maathai, George Anyona, Tom Mboya, Shikuku. There has never been a lack of leadership within the parliamentary buildings and even within civil society. And that's one of the reasons, for example, when these goons tried to destroy the Jay-Z movement, this Sunday there was a concert that showed peace and showed tranquility and brought back the momentum. So remember that if we did not have that leadership this Sunday, people had begun to lose hope with this struggle. So part of the problem we have is the people we elected. I just wanted to put that in.
Thank you so much. Joel, then Nelson.
Thank you so much, Maj and Dr. Miguna, Dr. Mutunga, and Tony. We are really grateful for being here. Now, just a quick one in my 2 minutes. First of all, I'm interested in the word dialogue because it's gonna be prominent in this phase of this revolution. There'll come the politicians, the people in the swamp, because right now we are drowning the swamp. As Dr. Mutunga has mentioned it, we want to drown. These are Kanu orphans, as we saw yesterday. So at this point in time, we are not telling the government to use the approaches of the past, which really never worked. We are simply telling them to deal
Am I
with
the only
corruption.
one who is not hearing anyone?
I can hear him. Daktari, kindly, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear him.
Okay, then just be patient. If you cannot hear the next speaker, then kindly leave and come back. Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Joel, kindly continue.
Okay, sorry about that, Dr. Miguna. So I was just saying that, right now it's not the time to use the past approaches in dealing with our problems. We are simply saying that to deal with corruption, to have good governance, to sack corrupt cabinet ministers or secretaries, to stop tribal appointments, bribery and all that, this does not really need dialogue. And right now we have Raila, for example. In all my life, I've always voted for Raila. And from the 2007 general elections, that was a highly contested election, which resulted in significant post-election violence. But later, what happened? Raila chose dialogue at that time because, and most of us and some of his critics, argued that power sharing deal was more about political expediency and benefiting the political elites rather than addressing the root cause of the violence at that time, which, if I can remember, there were systematic issues about, rigging and all that. Then it came to 2013 elections where there was accusations that the push for dialogue was more about maintaining political relevance and positioning for the next general election, which was coming up in 2017. And then here we had 2017, the same thing. There was a handshake which really led to BBI, which was a political maneuver to consolidate power and to...
Joel?
Yes.
Just a moment. Kindly allow me to clarify that each speaker is going to speak for only 2 minutes. This is because we have a lot of speakers that are still requesting for the mic. So after one minute, I'm going to raise my hand. So for all the speakers who are following, who will speak after him. After 1 hour, after 1 minute, if you see my hand raised up, it means you have another minute to go. I know the 2 minutes are not enough, but please, for all the next speakers, try to really, organize your points so that you can put them across in 2 minutes, and then we'll have more people speaking. Back to you, Joel, as you land. Thank you.
Okay, as I land now, we realize, after all that, this is all about political expediency, consolidating power, and even marginalizing opposition voices. Right now, for me, I feel that is the aim of the political class. The KANU orphans, right now, they want to marginalize us. They want to silence the opposition voices. And, it's argued that really this serves their interests, the political elites, rather than addressing the needs of ordinary Kenyans. And as I wind up, there has been deaths, right now, Danzel Onyango Omondi, that was very painful. And the rest, and many others who haven't been mentioned, who haven't been heard. And at this time, the anger really should prick up to the bone, because many people, they're going to use this to silence people. They're going to use deaths. They're going to use abductions. They're going to kill people. And I would just want us to be encouraged by this and not to give up. I'll land there. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Joel. Over to Nelson. Daktari, can you now hear Nelson?
Hi, Dr. Miguna. Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
can hear. I can hear.
Great. Continue, Nelson. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Marge. Thank you, Hillary, for this space, and thank you, Daktari, and every other speaker, CJ, Anthony Gashoka, and the rest. I have only 2 points to make, and the first point is, so I have been reading some memoirs of Black revolutionaries from different parts of the world, and there is one quote that has really stuck with me, and the quote goes, "Each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. We are the generation he speaks of, and the power is within us, as it was in Fred Hampton to provoke change and become leaders." So this was after the civil rights movement in the US. And this quote basically says that every generation has its mission, and we have the prerogative to either fulfill it or to betray it. We saw the multi-party fight and other generations that fought for their that fought for their mission and they won. And right now it's us, the Gen Zs and the millennials, and it's up to us to either fulfill this mission or to betray this mission. And this mission is actually the economic independence of our country, because far too long we have not been independent economically in our country. We've been having extractive institutions instead of inclusive institutions. My second point is what Dr. Miguna extensively explained, so history. But the angle I want to raise is that whenever tyrants face insurrections or uprising, they normally try to meet it with a lot of ruthless. They use a lot of force, like we've seen how they killed people in very peaceful protests, and we can draw parallels in history, like from the French Revolution, which Dr. Miguna spoke about. What you need to understand is that when when tyrants are faced with this kind of situations, they will always use brutal force to make people to fear, and so that like they brought the army so that people can fear. The night before people were going to State House, they were sending people inboxes, paying people personally. So many people inboxed me from the government. They sent me messages telling me, oh, tell those people if you go to State House you will be killed. So they try to use these kind of mechanisms to survive, but it's all in history, and we can use history just to predict what they will do next. And so this is the French Revolution. They did the same. Muammar Gaddafi did the same. In Romania, same everywhere. There's so many examples. Even in Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe did the same exact thing to
Yeah.
yes, Manj.
You've gone past a minute. Yeah, you're not the third.
Okay.
Kindly land. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was my 2 points, and I just want to encourage everyone to do not think that the revolution is dying out. This is just the beginning, and everything you're seeing is as per the script of revolution. And with time, we are going to conquer and to make our generation proud, because this is our mission to bring economic independence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the previous speakers haven't posed direct questions to the guest speakers. So I'm inviting Eunice and Karani in that order. And so my question would be, of course, no dialogue, no retreat, no surrender. If you could, center your points to that topic, and if you have questions, then just feel free to shoot. 2 minutes each. Please be reminded that we should keep within the 2 minutes so that at least some more people get the time to speak. Eunice, over to you.
Hi, hello everybody. Can you
Loud
hear
and
me?
clear.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Miguna and Dr. Willie Mutunga and Tony and everyone here. Mine is, I am not a politician. I am just a business lady, and all of you who are in business, you know how difficult it is to do business in Kenya. And that's why I'm saying no surrender, and we cannot retreat. And this is my reason. You see, this government or Ruto is supported by 4 pillars. Number 1, he was able to put the MPs into his pocket. Number 2 has been the church. Number 3 has been the international community. And number 4 has been the, we can say he has the support of the police maybe. And one thing that we had managed to do the last 2 weeks was scare the MPs, basically destroying that pillar. And I remember there's a week they could not even speak. And that's why I'm very angry that even, they have come back, they're able to speak with a lot of arrogance as though we don't mean anything. And I wish there's a way we could stop, especially the mainstream media, from giving them a platform. And we should not give them room to speak to us. They should go and speak and do the things that we are saying that they should do in parliament or wherever they meet. Number 2, I can see they have, I hope they haven't started going to church, because we should not give them that platform. So my point is, let's keep the momentum. And I like the fact that we realize that you see, once we expose them to the international community and they cannot be able to support, or rather they will not get the support of the international community, definitely they're going to listen. When they talk about dialogue, is it what we saw yesterday? And I like what Miguna is asking. No woman, nothing, it's it's a shame, especially to the male gender and the old generation, to stand all of them, and they cannot even feel shame, and they even take photos to show us that, you know what, we can do whatever we want. So if we are going to get back our country, we cannot afford to give up, not at this moment. I see this as in 2002, when Kibaki came to power. I was in the university then, I'm a millennial, and we had so much hope, and you know, we could see citizens arresting the police for bribery and all. And then over time, that momentum just fizzled out, and we've been on a road to, you know, to downhill, back to the dark days and back to the, you know, immoral society whereby nobody respects anyone. We don't value lives. We don't, you know, we don't value what matters. So I think we should not give up, and especially deplatforming the MPs and the leaders. They should not speak to us until we see action. I don't know how that is going to happen, but I think it's our time.
Mhm.
And what I like about this movement is
Eunice.
that it's not.
Eunice, I'm going to
Yes.
now drastically just stop you. Please, guys. You know,
Okay.
when we are expecting also order from the leaders there, we should also have the order here. You know, it's 2 minutes each, and yeah, so kindly
Okay.
land. Karani, please take note. So
Okay.
just a moment, Eunice, I'm
Okay.
giving you seconds back. When I raise my hand up to all the speakers, it means you have 1 minute more. So the orientation can be that you're looking at your watch. So when the clock turns to the next minute, then the time is over. And please just do prepare your points in a manner that you can put them across in 2 minutes. I know the 2 minutes is not enough, but we really need to. We have over 100 people still requesting. Eunice, land, and then we go to Karani.
Okay. 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 So my point is, let's shame the behavior that we don't want to see, and let's deplatform, and especially the mainstream media should not give them platforms to speak.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eunice. Karani, go. And the 3 guest speakers, should you want to chime in anytime, just open the mic. Yeah, but after Karani, I think we're going to circle back to the 3 of you. Okay, Karani? Karani, can you hear me? And Kingsman, should you want to say something also, just feel free to open the mic. Karani cannot hear me. So let's go to Godfather and then KOT Son. Godfather, can you hear me? Okay. Dr. Miguna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear you. I can hear
Okay.
you.
So then the Godfather cannot hear. So KOT, please proceed.
Okay, thank you so much, Amaj, and I'm really happy to see Dr. Miguna here and Dr. Willy Mutunga. I like introducing myself with my official name. I'm Marvin Mabonga, and so I've ever had a conversation with Dr. Willy Mutunga on matters the Constitution when we were having a freedom fighters, the writers of the freedom fighters event at UON. So, as we have seen the events that have happened recently.
Just a moment. There's something.
So,
there's something in your background that producing some very, I don't know, yeah, sounds. Okay, now I cannot hear it. I don't know if it's connected to your phone or something like that.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
And can I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay, so following the recent activities that have happened, we've seen the president return the finance bill to the parliament, and of course, by doing this, then we really have the vote of no confidence. So I want to ask Dr. William Mutunga a question, that can he explain the detailed process and legal requirements involved in the impeachment of a president following a vote of no confidence? Specifically, what are the steps from the initial motion to the final decision, and what roles do different branches or do different arms of the government play in this process? Apart from that, I know most of us are the youth who are championing for the freedom and rights of the fellow citizens in this nation. So we might have a general election. If not soon, then come 2027. I'd like to challenge my fellow Gen Z that when that time comes, we really need to see the change in this nation. So let us all come out in large numbers and 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 contest for these seats, the members of parliament seats, senator seats, so that we can bring the change that we really need to see in this nation. Thank you so much, Maj.
Thanks. Dr. Mutunga, over to you with the question from the speaker, if you want to take that. No.
I've just picked up my pocket constitution to look at the issue, right?
Okay, then let me give you, shall I give you some more minutes?
Yeah, just go on.
Okay.
I'll alert you once
Great,
I'm ready
great,
to
because
answer.
I know you're also preparing on other points, so that's all right.
Okay.
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 So now, the next speaker is Milton, and then Kenya, and then Degwa. 2 minutes each. Milton, if you cannot hear me, I'll give the mic to Kenya. Kenya, go.
Good evening, Maj. I hope I'm loud enough.
Yes, you audible. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to fire my questions straight to Dr. William Mutunga and Miguna, and also the other lawyers who are here. First, I would like to understand if we want to occupy State House. I would like to understand what measures we need to put for if letters need to be written in advance, and how such a step could be taken if we are going to march to State House. That's my question number one. And the other one is not a question per se, it's just to say that there is no dialogue and there is no point of dialogue. And at no point when this conversation started, we said we wanted a dialogue with anyone. So that's from my side much.
Great. That's really perfectly put in 1 minute. Thank you so much. Tony? Take a go, Tony. Yes.
Yes, one of the things I wanted actually to raise was the importance of this conversation we're having on X space, because part of the problem we are having in Kenya, and I'm answering why people are feeling fear of State House or fear of doing things, is because the media in Kenya is highly compromised. The largest media house in Kenya is Citizen TV Kenya, with more than 50% of the audiences in Kenya. The last couple of months, most of the citizen journalists have joined the government. Half of them are in State House. I mean, from Hussein Mohammed to others. Others then went and joined from Govin. She went to Parliament. In terms of the accountability of journalism, in terms of telling the truth, is zero. I tell you why. Moses Kuria has been 27 times this year on Citizen TV as their main guest. This man called Atwoli, this Yvonne Okwara, it seems to, have a habit of bringing up the mainstayers of government. They are given not only opportunity, but no other voices are heard. And why Kenyans are flocking to X space is because we do not have an accountable media. Because the government is the one that pays all the advertising with all its friends. So they blackmail these media institutions. The reporters are all friends of the others, all working in government. There is a compromised media. And I have gone on record with Linus Kaikai. I took him on because he's younger than me in this business. And I asked him, what are you people doing? Because all these Finance Bill 2023, the Housing Act, and including the Finance Bill 2024 were all marketed and sold as Citizen TV. What is the role and the collapse of the media? What is the role and the collapse of parliament, individual parliamentarians? And that's why this Jay-Z issue of Kusalimia MPs has been very effective. Because whereas the leadership has failed, individual MPs have failed, but the media has failed more. I want to leave it there for now.
Thank you. And I would also like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Mkenya Daima. Do follow him. Reason is when we were pushing information that would save the lives. Doctor, I'm going to put you through.
Margie, can you hear? I can't
Yes.
hear you. I don't know if you're speaking, but I can't hear anything.
I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Let me inbox Hillary, please inbox Daktari to see if yeah. So the reason why I want to underline this is when we are tweeting to save the lives of Kenyans, there were many influencers that were being tagged to posts. Some of them were ignoring. That is the point where some of them were already bored, some of them not. But Mkenya Daima was one of the people who at all costs was always amplifying those tweets. So thank you so much, Mkenya, for that. Now, Dr. Miguna, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, great. I hope you also took the questions that are being channeled. Yes. Do you want to take a go?
Yes, I did take the question that was asked of if we want to occupy State House, is there a requirement to send letters, blah, blah, blah. So this is my answer. If citizens want to take power, you're not going to give notice to the person you want to take power from. Giving notice to the person would be empowering him to organize himself so that he can arm killers to kill you. I am against giving notice when people want to go to State House, for example. That has to be a surprise. When the Sri Lankans went to State House in Sri Lanka, they didn't give notice to the president and the people that he was with. They just stormed it. So this is the beauty of having protests that are more than one day, because they organically evolve. So you don't have to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. Giving that kind of notice and the route or the route you're going to take is actually dangerous. There is no legal requirement, actually, that notice has to be given to anyone. The only thing for notice is so that you allow the police to provide security. But as we know, the police in Kenya don't provide security to protesters. They harm them. So giving them notice means you're giving them notice to harm you. You don't need notice to protest on your own streets. You just need to go there. And if you decide to go there, say tomorrow, you just go there in large numbers and you approach State House. State House is actually public property. I'm amazed that Kenyans argue that it is a protected area. All public space should be protected anyway, but State House should be open for people to visit, should they choose to do so. It's not a military barrack. State House is supposed to be where the president stays after people granted him permission to do so. Should the people withdraw that permission and they want to occupy it and evict the person that has become rogue, I think the citizens should feel that they have full power to do so under Article 1 of the Constitution. The same power that you have under the Constitution to visit Parliament and to go there and take the mace is the same power that allows you to go to State House. So legally, no, there is no requirement to give notice. And in any event, politically, strategically, it is dangerous to do so.
Thank you so much, Daktari. It's good that we're having this discussion because I'm actually one of the people who There's a mic that's on. I'm actually one of the people who actually, when it comes to demonstration, of course, the rights are enshrined in the Constitution. But I'm actually one of the people who were against marching to State House. And my reasoning was, and in fact, this very upset a lot of people when I posted out there and say, do anything you want to do within the law, but just leave that house alone. Because I was looking at it from the point of view that actually the State House as it is, having the symbol that it has, the people who've lived there have just been there for 10 years, whatever years, and then they go. So looking at it from the point of view of a commander-in-chief of the defense force being in there, the moment the citizens are coming, and sometimes these demonstrations are also infiltrated, unfortunately, what role, because of course he also has his security there, isn't there a chance of escalation when actually his security wants to protect him and whisk him out? That was, Dr. If you can clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah, Maj, a lot of people don't understand that Ruto will be gone by the time people reach Serena Hotel. You would be gone by helicopter. You would not wait for people to reach State House. A lot of people don't understand that he may not even have been in town when there were demonstrations reaching Parliament. You don't know how cowardly these people are. But on top of that, it is disempowering to the people to tell them, to scare them away, to sell fear to them. Because all these revolutions we've been talking about, those places were also guarded. The French guarded their emperor. Ceausescu was more guarded than Ruto. The Philippines guarded their president more than Ruto. Compaore, a military man, guarded himself more than Ruto. Let's not sell fear to the people. Mugabe guarded himself. 1 million people cannot be shot on the streets. That would be suicide for Ruto. So let's not sell fear to our citizens. Our citizens have the power to take power that they donated to Ruto, and they can do that directly at State House. And I can assure you, once you have 1 million people marching to State House, there will be no shot fired. These police officers and the military will join the crowd. They will protest against Ruto. And Ruto will be gone before you can say hello.
Thank you so much, Dr. for answering me. Let's go by Hillary. Over to you.
Who's coming next, Mike?
Next, I'm
Okay.
having Ndegwa, Neto, and then KDR TV.
Thank you very much. And most obliged to be granted this opportunity. I pass my regards to Daktari, Miguna, and the CJ, and Tony Gashok, and everyone else. I am one of the proponents of believing that we must use constitutional means to dislodge William Ruto, and that all the constitutional tools must be put to test, and then we resort to extra constitutional means in the event the available constitutional tools fails. The last time I was on space, I made a proposal of the impeachment, but I also looked at the other constitutional tool that is available in the Constitution in respect of Article 144, and I'll still merge it together with Article 145 that deals with the question of the impeachment, even as we await the answer from Dr. Chief Justice Emeritus. When you look at the question of removal of the president on ground of incapacity, the Constitution provides that the National Assembly, supported by at least a quarter of all members, may move a motion for the investigation of the president's physical and mental capacity. If you look at the threshold of the process, we just need a quarter of the members of parliament to move this. Then the Constitution further says that if it is supported by majority of all the members of the National Assembly. So the threshold is very, very clear, and a threshold that can easily be achieved. Then it further says that upon the resolution of Parliament, that resolution shall be passed over to the Chief Justice, who within 7 days will constitute a tribunal to investigate the health status of the president to govern. I believe if we can explore the possibility of using that particular tool, we may not be too far from getting hold of William Ruto. If you compare the process of the removal on ground of incapacity and you compare on removal on ground of impeachment, the impeachment provides that you require a third, at least a third of the members, and then to move the motion, and then you require at least 2/3 of the members to vote for the motion. So I believe these tools are some of the tools that can be explored in terms of trying to dislodge Ruto. Why? Because if we get out of the constitution, we may never ever get back to that particular route. Number two, Mr. William Ruto being rogue and being what he is, there is nothing that stops him from also saying that because the citizens have now abrogated the constitution, that he may also resort to very extra constitutional means of trying to retain power. And that extra constitutional means may be a very bloody process because he'll be saying, I am in the office, I have the police, I have the army, I have the support. So he may also use very extra constitutional means. That is why, in
Wakili,
my view, yes.
Wakili, can you land?
Well, I think those are some of the proposals I would perhaps be making. As I land on the question of the mainstream media, we need to boycott them so that they may rally behind the movement of the people. Number three, as I sum up, we must dislodge the current political status quo, and we need to have a hashtag of the hashtag of the status quo must fall, so that we completely get away from the embarrassment we found yesterday in KICC, that the people who believes in dialogue were in KICC yesterday. Those who believes in good governance and accountability are meeting where we are meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Over to you, Hilary, and then I see that Terry wants to chime in.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Wakili. Dr.
Subject to us hearing from CJ Mutunga, I just wanted to say quickly to Advocate Ndegwa three things. Number one, the problem with the lawyers who are focused on the black letter law is that they get lost. This is bigger than black letter law. This is bigger than litigation. We are on the streets already, and it is already bloody. We have counted about 50 bodies that Ruto has piled up. So talking of blood is a red herring because we already have blood on the street. Our people have already been killed. But more fundamentally, and I want you to think broadly, I want you to think outside the box. We are squarely within the Constitution. Article 1 is part of the Constitution. How can anybody say that power being exercised by the people under Article 1 is extra constitutional, is outside the Constitution? Yet that is the first article you read. Why should you go to the other articles and you leave the first one that gives you power? That's number two. Number three, impeachment is a non-starter. It's actually a big joke. Anybody who mentions impeachment and mentions it seriously may not know what they're talking about or what they're doing. We are not going to get into some exercise into futility. You're talking about people who cannot even impeach a governor? I mean, how many governors have been impeached? 2 in the history of the Constitution? I mean, Sonko and his brother from the guy from Kiambu. That's it. And yet we have crooks all over. And then you're talking about impeaching a president. You're impeaching a president who controls the entire parliament and now controls the so-called opposition also. Didn't he just parade all of them yesterday? That's the entire parliament he paraded yesterday. You're talking about the people who basically mutilated the conflict of interest law. And they all voted as a block, 25 of them, with no senator voting no. Even the ones that are purporting now to be with the people did not even dare attend to cast their votes and say no. All of them voted unanimously. These are the people you say can impeach a president? My friend, let us not joke too much. We already have too many people suffering, many people abducted, too many people killed, families grieving, and then we bring them this. This would be to castrate the revolution. This would be to make it useless, to give people hope which is completely empty. It would be to divert our energies and anger into nothing. It's almost like the people who are telling us, let's sue Ruto. Sue him where? How? And how are you going to enforce the court orders? Because the court orders must be enforced by the police. So how would you get Ruto out of State House with the police that he controls? Please, let us think strategically. Let us not think like people who just went to law school to study black letter law and do not have the common sense to come out of it.
Thank you so much, Daktari. Maj, as you come in, thank you so much. I see Tony Gachoka carry his hand, but I want to give Neto. Then Tony Gachoka, you can also submit yours. Neto, then Tony Gachoka. I know you are the guest, but Neto, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Hilary.
But also, Mheshimiwa, as you
Is
come
it
in,
me?
we want to remind everybody that let us have socialize. It means that let us follow each other as possible, so that when we have all these spaces, you're aware of what is happening.
Hello, Maj.
Mheshimiwa, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sorry, just a moment. Kibato, I can hear you. Probably you cannot hear people. Neto is speaking in a moment. If you cannot hear him speak, then please leave the space and come back. We'll add you to the mic. Over to you, Neto. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Marge. Thank you, Hillary. I'll try to use my 2 minutes. I'm here not to ask questions, but to support my friends, Dr. Miguna, and also Dr. Willie Mutunga, my very good friends. I will rearrange my many points, but maybe it's a good place to start from where Dr. Miguna has left. The other things I'll be saying will be more signposts for him and Dr. Mutunga then to maybe expound on. But the first one, Dr. Miguna, I think there is nothing wrong in reading the black letter law. I just think that what Wakili Ndegwa doesn't understand is that constitutions need to be read in a continuum. Because if you look at the provisions of Article 146 of the Constitution of Kenya, it also provides for the president of Kenya resigning. And what we're doing is very constitutional. You know, the right to picket. I mean, of course, you've mentioned very well Article 1 with regard to the sovereignty of the people. Article 37, the right to picket. Article 146, the reasons why people picket is to present petitions and prayers to the people in office. And one of the things we're asking the president is to resign on the provisions of Article 146. So there's nothing extra constitutional about that. I agree with Dr. Miguna to the extent that an impeachment process is dead on arrival. So let's not even think about it. But there's nothing wrong with what Kenyans are doing right now, the protests, the pickets, to the extent that we succeed in getting President Ruto out of office within the provisions of Article 146 of the Constitution. That's very constitutional. The second thing I'd like to say, which is going to be my first point, was that I think there is the call for dialogue by Raila Odinga, I think was wrong-founded. Wrong-founded because as I listened to Dr. Tony Gashoka historicize the movement, as well as Dr. Miguna and Dr. Willie, you know, all the things we're asking President William Ruto to do, some of them are within the provisions of Article 73 of the Constitution. It talks about accountability of leadership, talks about competence, it talks about integrity. That's all there. So what we're asking William Ruto and his deputy to do is to stick to the provisions of constitutionalism and the rule of law. And you know, broadly speaking, constitutionalism is the fact that just do things as per what the Constitution is asking you to do. That's number one. But number two, let the rules apply across board for everyone else, so that it is not that for some people it's not clear. The third thing that I wanted to say,
Neto, maybe just to emphasize on what Daktari was saying, I think it is so clear that with the kind of legislators that we have, it will be a waste of time you taking anything to Parliament. These are the same people that passed on the finance bill that was rejected by everyone in the country apart from a few elites. They are the same people who were, even when the demonstration was about to get to parliament, they were in there forcing to ensure that because of time they passed that bill. They did. They ran into the tunnels so that they can hide themselves. The next day, when the president rejected the bill, on his or they were behind him clapping. So really, that is not a house of honor. There is nothing that you can take there and it can be passed. The same way that Daktari is asking, do we really have an opposition? These people were yesterday lined, both parties, ODM and Kenya Kwanza. They are the majority in parliament. They make like 99% of the representation. So where will you take this impeachment motion to? It is just an issue of common sense, if you ask me as well.
Thank you very much. And I agreed completely with Dr. Miguna. And I said that an impeachment motion is a non-starter. However, I said a constitution is ready in its continuum. And if you look at Article 146 of the Constitution of Kenya, it provides for a president's resignation. And what we are doing is very constitutional to get President Ruto out of office. There is nothing unconstitutional in picketing to the extent that the president gets out of office. I'm not asking about an impeachment motion. So I think that's what I wanted you to understand. So two things before my minutes then run out is two things I'd like to clarify. There have also been calls by Kenyans that there needs to be like something, a dissolution of parliament. If you look at the provisions of Article 102 of the Constitution right now, it does not anticipate a dissolution of parliament. So one of the things we must do is to succeed in getting President Ruto out of power. Then, with the constitution of IBC, which is what we must fast track also, and we must be vigilant about that, is to then use a recall process to make sure that we send the other parliamentarians home. The other reason why I was opposed to Raila's call for dialogue is that when President Ruto agreed to meet Gen Zs on the X space, there was no conversation about dialogue. There was no conversation about selecting 150 people. The conversation was very simple.
NATO tried to land so that I think your 2 minutes are done, and we have over 200 speakers on the queue waiting. So please land so that they can give the mic to someone else.
Yeah, could you
Just
please just
no,
give
just hold
Neto a
on.
little bit
Yeah,
more time, please,
Just
to
that's what I
finish?
wanted to say. Neto, I'm going to give you some of my 2 minutes. Please proceed. I know there's a reason why, because the legal thing is it's interesting, and we want to also have that clarification. So please proceed to finish without interruption. Over to you.
Thank you, Marge. And I just said the things I'm talking about will be extrapolated by Dr. Miguna and the Chief Justice. So 3 things then. One, I said, part of the conversations that we had was that there was no request by the Gen Zs for President Ruto to constitute a dialogue phase, because what the Gen Zs were asking for the president is to play by the constitution by sacking the corrupt ministers, sacking the people who are incompetent, and that is very clear. There's nothing that you need dialogue about. And if you see, look at the TGRC report, look at the Ndungu report, look at the Waki report, look at the post-election violence report, Agenda 1, Agenda 2, and 3. So Kenya is replete with reports that just need to be implemented. So for Raila Odinga to request us to go for another dialogue session is to make sure he's misusing us like he's always misused people previously. And you must understand one thing with Raila Odinga is that he always wants to disrupt things. If he's not at the center of those activities, then he also wants to disrupt them. So I really think that in this particular instance, we cannot allow him to disrupt us. The third thing I wanted to say is the issue of public debt and an audit of the public debt. The reason why you might have seen Raila and his friends come out in the open is because you remember Raila being part of Uhuru's handshake, was part of the Chinese debts, was part of all these things. So they know for a fact that an audit or an opening of the public debt puts them all in the same corner. So what would I request of us to do in the next couple of weeks? Number one, I think we need to focus the revolution. We need to focus the revolution. And Gen Zs did a good job by starting the revolution. But I really think that right now we need all hands on deck. We've been on this particular call with all these veterans, CJ, Willie, Dr. Miguna, who started these calls earlier on. I think we need all hands on deck. Let the Gen Zs do their role, which they've been doing very well. Let the millennials do it, because it's for country. So that at least let's focus, so that when the part of leadership comes through, then let the Gen Zs, of course, then take over power in the way that they please. But let everyone else play their role. The last thing I'd like to say is the next weeks of IBC appointment. that's going to be the frontier where we must fight Ruto and Raila in a way that gives us what we deserve. You've seen the way it's always possible to manipulate IBC commissioners. The law right now, as it stands, is very skewed in favor of Raila and in favor of President Ruto, because 5 out of the 9 people to be appointed as the selection panel are all going to be from political parties. That definitely gives them an advantage in terms of who then becomes on board. So I think even though we might be disadvantaged in terms of where we're starting from, I think that space is going to be for eternal vigilance, because then people are so that we do not scare too many people. If we protect that particular space, then we're going to be all good. The last one, the call for Ruto must always be accompanied by the call Gachagua must go. Because part of what is going on in the streets is that people are wondering that if you let President Ruto alone, how then does Gachagua become president? Which is even more horrendous than the current president. So I really think that clarion call should be for both of them. Of course, Ruto must go, Gachagua must go. But of course, when both of them go, and there are constitutional ways of doing that. If you look at the provisions of Article 143, once the president has gone, you can also throw away the deputy president. And then, of course, there's an election in 60 days. So that, of course, then still within the constitution. So that people like Ndego have no business getting worried. We will make sure the president resigns within the provisions of Article 146. We will make sure the deputy president resigns within the provisions of Article 143 and 144. And we shall have an election in 60 days where Gen Zs and other Kenyans can then put in the kind of president they want. Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thanks so much, Neto. And yes, and Tony, you're next. Thanks for your submissions there. And Tony, take a go. And then Mkenya, your question.
Thank you. I just want to address the issue of fear and the issue you raised about marching to State House. Because, look, these issues that we are taking are not easy. It was Winston Churchill who said that of all the virtues of a man, there is nothing more important than courage. We would not have got the finance bill retracted had people not risked their lives and marched. We would not have the IBC panel now appointed had there been no this protest and this sacrifice of so many Kenyans, because even the NADCO report was not able to give birth to that. And I want to remind Kenyans what happened in 2002 when Mwai Kibaki won the presidency. President Moi came to Uhuru Park and the public went crazy. Moi must go, Moi must go. And he had all the security and everything there, but nobody was holding back Uhuru Park. I want to associate myself with what Miguna had said earlier. I think this country has not reached the point of critical mass. When we reach a point of critical mass, we are so many of us that they will be all scared of us. I was watching last week all MPs apologizing. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to Jay-Z. I'm so sorry I didn't listen, because they can't go home. I want to be, because these people listen to this space, and I know many from State House and intelligence are listening. The reason they bring out the army is to scare you. The reason they shot all these people, even 12-year-old boy, is because they want to scare Kenyans. Fear is that is their merchandise. If we buy fear and we start now looking like we want to be apologetic, we want to do IPPG, we want to do small things, as Miguna says, the black law, letter of the law, we are going to begin to lose that momentum. What is important, no dialogue, no talks, and no retreat means, are we ready to march and to march even up to State House? Who would have believed would have got it into Parliament? Who would have believed that Ruto can refuse to sign the Finance Bill 2024? Who can believe even now the military is hiding? Although they are deployed, they don't want to be seen in the public. We are winning this war because we are courageous and we have no fear. Let them not even think we have any fear at all. I want to stop there.
Thank you so much. Dr. Miguna, do you want to chime in before we go to KDR News, or should we proceed?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank
Go
you.
ahead.
KDR News, then Esperance, then Kenya.
Thank you very much, Maj, Dr. Miguna, my good friend, and CJ Emeritus, Dr. Mutunga. I'm a little bit confused here because the law which was rejected, but technically I'm not a lawyer, that's why I need people like Dr. Miguna to come in and really tell us what is the, right now, where are we with the rejected bill? We've not actually had anything, and as per the explanations, Dr. Miguna, I heard you last time. You said that after 14 days, and that's what is the constitution. The law becomes effective. So where are we right now, and what can we do to salvage that particular law? not really salvage, but just completely eradicate it. The other thing I also need to get from the legal minds is the aspect of, I mean, not really the aspect, but where are we with the real data of the people who are killed? I've tried to put my team in the field to get some more data, also more clarification, but they are getting a lot of pushback. Dr. Tony, I'm really having a very serious issue with getting the data from the hospitals, the data from the police. So up to now, even the 41 gallant members of the Gen Z who were killed, we don't really have a clear data and what really killed them, because what we also need when we are writing even articles, we really need to get facts right. So I'm still really having a very difficult time getting those data, getting the post-mortem, and up to now. So we are really having a very terrible situation down there. What can we really do to ensure we get this data, we get this information, and probably even file suits to ensure that these people have been brought to book? And then the other thing, when President Ruto is telling our Gen Z or our millennial or people like X, like, I mean, people older, all like us, what are we really going to do to ensure these people, especially the policemen, are brought to book? Why does he talk of dialogue? Why does Raila Amolo Odinga talk of dialogue while our people from our community in Kisumu down there, over 75 people were killed, and they were being pulled from their houses, from their huts, being clobbered to death, but nothing has actually been done. So I would also love the opposition to tell us exactly what have they done with the people who are killed. Right now, as we are speaking, there are people who are still getting abducted. The Gen Zs are being sent very weird messages threatening them and all that. So what kind of dialogue are they telling us while people are still being forced from their houses? They are being forced to abandon their just cause. I'm really having a lot of pain. And to finish up my 2 minutes, I'm still having a lot of pain. One of my sisters, I've actually seen her here, Dr. Kombe, when she was running from Kenya. Every media house really got scared of writing the articles about her abduction. Well, our media house, through a friend of ours from the airport, gave us the information. We didn't fear. We wrote those articles. So if you've got any information which deems to better the lives of Kenyans, send it our way so that we can publish it. If you have got good information, we can even interview you. If it's not on Twitter, if it's on YouTube or wherever situation you want us to publish your information, please bring it forward so that we can publish that information. So I really need some clarification from CJ Emeritus, Dr. Mutunga, or Dr. Miguna, or Dr. Tony. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, KDR TV News. We go to Esperance and then Kenya.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. So I'm just wondering, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, at what point do we declare these disappearances, abductions, these murders, crimes against humanity? Because these numbers are rising by the day, and I mean, the government seems to have some form of false sense of immunity, which is very sad. At what point do we declare them crimes against humanity, and how then do we act? Do we wait for other people to act on our behalf, or how do we act individually to raise to let the world know that indeed there are crimes happening against humanity in Kenya? I think Dr. Mutunga has dropped, but then I had a question for him. Maybe I was just wondering, as the first Chief Justice post 2010 Constitution, where did we lose it as a country in that one? Is the judiciary independent when it comes to draft? We've seen when this Kenya Kwanza government came in, we just saw cases being dropped one after the other in a very sequential manner. Number two, the issue of, I had him mention the issue of cattle rustling in I mean, why are we glorifying robbery with violence in the name of cattle rustling? And is it something that cannot be stopped, or is there's more to it than meets the eye? The third one, the ESCC, IPOA, and all these, are they toothless dogs? If that's the case, then how do we then handle them? Should we do away with them if we cannot fight corruption? the third question, the gift of public participation. Is it just a gift on paper, or do we have M&E tools to put checks and balances on it? Because we are in this situation. What triggered us to this situation is the people we elected failed to involve the public in public participation. So we went to the streets, and then this is my suggestion. Can we break the system one department at a time, so that when uprooting say when we picked Nakumincha, can we ensure she's gone, then Ababu, because like right now there are questions on the people he's carried to Paris. We'd want to know, can we have it clear how many people have gone to Paris and at what expense to the taxpayers' money, so that when we are pushing these agendas, tunafinya we inject until somebody goes. And then the person who asked, I think KDR TV News, who asked about data, I think because the government will not give us that data, I think that is HIPAA data, but we can get it from other CSOs like Badili Africa. I think Boniface Mwangi, I saw them working with those families, and they've been posting on their social sites, because they sought consent from the families. And then the last one, I think the Gen Zs do not need dialogue at this point. The things they're asking for should be done. Somebody said that when the government doesn't want to solve your problems, they create commissions, task forces, and introduce bougie words like dialogue. At this point, tribal kingpins, perceived or real, must take a back seat, because this thing is, the issues these people are asking: unemployment. What is dialogue going to create? Employment? And I still insist, can't dialogue run simultaneously with picketing as a right of the people? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Esperance. Kenya, and then we probably the guest speakers can then chime in. Kenya, your question, please.
My question concerns all the 742 interns whose contract was terminated for participating in the strike that was happening. So how can that be addressed legally? So that goes to Miguna as well as the CJ.
Thank you. So, Dr. Miguna, please take the mic.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my condolences to the family of David Majanja, the judge, who I have just seen breaking news, just collapsed and died today in Nairobi. Majanja is one of those very good judges in the judiciary. Unfortunately, he has died suddenly. I don't know of what causes. But that's the breaking news. Justice Majanja is dead. The second thing I would like to say is that NATO gave a very good presentation that I agree with entirely. And I think that he has made very good points. That for those who are picking up the points and digesting them and using them to inspire, those are very, very, very good points. Now, I will go to Omweri's statement, the gentleman who spoke from KDRE TV. Is called Omweri. The data that we have, the only data that most people seem to rely on regarding the people who are dead, is from the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. But even their data is dated, in the sense that the last time they spoke of 42 dead, but we know as of yesterday that Denzel Omondi was found floating in a quarry near JKUAT, killed by the police and dumped there, tortured and killed. And just today, we also learned, maybe last night, that Duncan Onsongo was also found in a mortuary in Nairobi, having been tortured, killed, and then his body dumped there. So I believe that we are going to get many, many bodies. I am sure that the number of dead in Githurai was not one or two. I think the numbers are being suppressed, just like with the bodies that are supposed to be in Shakahola. I believe most of them were killed during Uhuru and Ruto's regime of people that were protesting, and they dumped their bodies there. They basically buried them in unmarked graves. So it will take time. I do not believe that as of now, many people should be relying on postmortem reports. Remember, in Kenya, postmortem reports are being produced by the same government that is killing people. They can forge them. They can try to minimize the number of deaths. They can mislead. They can give us wrong information. If anyone died during the protests mysteriously of gunshot wounds or even of uh, blunt objects, then we know that these people were killed by the police. Nobody was going around, or a gang was not going around killing people all over town and all over the country. We know for a fact that the organized killing was done by the police of Kenya. I personally would be suspicious if the numbers are not in their 70s, but we can only go with the official numbers, and there are two organizations that are responsible: Kenya National Commission for Human Rights and the Human Rights Defenders. These are two organizations in Kenya that have proven to be reputable. I'm not sure what the other question was. I want to comment on one thing that Neto said that I thought I should comment on. When people say Ruto must go, they mean the entire government of Ruto. They don't mean that they are leaving Gachagua out. But you know, political protests, propaganda, and strategy and tactics dictate that you need one message that is catchy, that has caught fire, and you don't want to dilute it. So Ruto must go is the chant. We don't want to water it down with Gachagua. We know that when we say Ruto must go, we mean Ruto and the entire government, including Gachagua. And so that's very clear. I don't think we should dilute it with anybody else. I suspect that the ones who are calling for impeachment may want Gachagua to take over. That's why one of the reasons I'm very opposed to impeachment, apart from the fact that it's a non-starter, anything that is going to allow any one of these organized mafia to succeed one another must be opposed violently. I drop the mic.
Thank you so much.
Much as you will take the course, we have 29 minutes to go. So it is good to people to keep that. I think we've been here more than 3 hours, so we had them 30 minutes. That should be okay.
So, yeah, there was still more questions, but that's okay. Sir John, and then Be Real.
Maj,
Yes,
can you hear me?
hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. I'll text him and tell him that he's not hearing me. But anyway, he cannot drop because he's the host. If he drops, the whole space drops. Let's go by Sir John, and then Be Real, and then Yaraduen, in that order.
Yeah, so thank you and good evening. I hope I'm clear. I just wanted to pass a message to my fellow Gen Zs that we should focus on our mission to occupy State House. Yeah, I believe State House is just like an apartment, and we are the people. Ruto is just like a tenant, and anytime, if you want to access our property, we should have our time and everything that we have. Yeah, so to politicians here, they should know we are leaderless, and hence we don't need any representation from anybody or political anything. We are leaderless, just like that. Yeah, so thank you so much, and good night.
Thanks. Actually, somebody has put a comment in a comment section. The first time Dr. Miguna held a space, there was this presidential space that was, or speech in the TV that was to collide with his space. I experienced the same today, but it was done by another influencer who, in the beginning of the movement, was actually mocking people. So he went out there and just set a space, 30 minutes after ours. So more of just to try to divert attention, because of course he knows that we're hosting this space here. So that always makes me wonder, what are people afraid of, that they keep diverting listeners, either directly, or if it becomes too obvious, through paid influences. That's really sad out there. But anyway, that's the situation we will.
Marge, you can just call him out. We know who he is. I think it is just good we call him out so that people are in a position to know that person. Because actually, if you listen to his spaces each and every
Oh,
morning,
Magic dropped. What's happening? Okay, who's going next?
Hillary, we can hear you.
Kingsman, are you talking?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, is there somebody talking? Because
No, I think they've dropped. All these people are dropped. When you can go ahead, then Nation, as they come. Let me figure it out what's happening with them.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, the co-host that dropped. My bosses are here. Thank you so much to the guest speakers. Mine is going to be long. Now, I will echo what Esperance said about at what point do we declare these abductions as crimes. And my point would be, whenever we go for picketing, then the police will come and clobber us. They beat us, others shoot us, and that's why we are talking about deaths. And their excuse is, we are destroying properties and businesses. The last I checked, we are not responsible for the protection of people's businesses and properties. That is a mandate given to the government. Now, my question is to the guest speaker, and I really wanted Emeritus to be here, so he guides me without too much English and too many English. When I say too many English, I mean semantics. We are all Kenyans and we know. Last time, Daktari, my friend, you told us we need to take photos or videos. Maybe you need to check on Faith Odhiambo's page so you can see her frustrations with the photos and the videos that we share. Now, I am not a lawyer, but there's this part of self-defense. This is where my question comes in. At what point during these protests do we self-defend? Do we also carry our weapon to beat these policemen? Because they say we are stealing. They are the same people who are on camera stealing. Now, at what point do we now self-defend? And how can we self-defend? Minus, telling us the videos and the photos, because they are so not helping. Look at Faith Odhiambo's page. You will see you will want to go record that case and get an OB number. You will not even get it. So how do we self-defend? Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary. Can you now hear me?
I can hear very well, Marge.
So
Go ahead.
anytime I say something critical, I'm always dropped. Hello, NSI. Yes, keep dropping me. The point I was saying is this one. Yeah, it cannot be that when a senior citizen wants to hold a space, we are in a democratic space. Then directly the other day, it was through the presidential press conference, that they tried to divert the viewers. Now, and I am really using the word allegedly here, I'm not mentioning names, but this is an influencer, but at the beginning was really trashing people, and if you went there and went to speak about anything about finance bill, he was even say, what are you talking about? Why are you complaining? So really, it still hasn't come out to say, to be really behind the movement, or to support the people. So it is very curious that the day Miguna decides to do a space, 30 minutes later, he's also doing a space. And I saw that, and somebody has just commented on that and tagged a few people to just highlight this is what is happening. Then I'm taken off the space. I've repeated it that there. Stop fearing, because the more you fear, the more you even show us who we are supposed to listen to. We are taking notes. Over to you, Hillary. Yeah.
But Madge,
Yes. Yes.
let us not talk like we fear anybody. And if you want to expose them, name them. This idea of saying allegedly, I don't know what is actually fear. Don't even use the word allegedly. Just name people, just like I do. How come they have not taken me to court? What do you guys fear? Don't fear these tags. Call them tags unapologetically.
Thank you, Dr. We are still training.
Yes, so call them tags unapologetically. Truth is an absolute defense in law. Nobody can take you to court for speaking the truth.
Yes.
And can I quickly just, Nyaradwen asked, do we have a right to self-defense? You do. Just like if somebody comes to your house and wants to invade it, you are allowed even up to the point of killing the person, if that is considered appropriate force. If a person comes with a knife, then you are allowed to overpower that person, including killing them, because if you don't, they can kill you. So the point is, it's a constitutional right to defend yourself. But we would always urge people to be peaceful, because the state has the monopoly of
My
violence.
concern is here about our fellow youth who are still in prison today.
So Chege, I'll need to please mute your mic. Otherwise, you speak, but just mute your mic. Dr. Continue.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is this: you are allowed to use as much force as considered reasonable. The reason why we are urging people not to use any force and not to carry any weapons is because it is a trap. They want you to carry weapons because they have monopoly over violence. They have a license to kill. They are given guns that they can shoot and they can kill people. So we don't want to contest or to be competing with them over violence. Because the moment you do that, we lose the script. We can be blamed by the media, by the international community, by everybody else as being reckless. So we say, let's remain vigilant. Let's restrain ourselves from being violent. Let's not fall into their trap. But if somebody attacks you and you're a group of people and you can overpower them, tie them up and leave them there on the street, or pick them up and take them to police stations. The question about running away when you can tie these people up or you can overpower them should not be asked. Use your head. If it is dangerous, don't do it. If it is not, arrest these people and tie them up.
Daktari, maybe just to echo to what Marge was saying, this person that has been trying to infiltrate our spaces, his name is Andrew Kibe. And if you can even look at his spaces, you can see today he's, I think he had...
My friend, let's not give Kibe attention. Kibe is nothing, he's an insect. Let's not give an insect attention, please.
Now, Dr. You understand why I was not mentioning
Yeah.
names.
That's what he's looking for. He's looking for us to talk about him. My friend, please. You are giving a tag, an insect, to boast how we were discussing him. Let's discuss these important things.
Yes. So, Mkenya, please take a minute to share, and then we go. Can you hear me? Okay, he cannot. So, Kenyan lady, you've been dropping. Okay, no, Kenya can hear me. Kenya, go, and then Kenyan lady, then Ahmed.
Yeah, I can hear you. Did you say Kenyan lady? Sorry.
Yes, please go, and then Kenya will go after you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for this platform, and I will go quick. I will try my best to express myself within the 2 minutes. Now, Dr. Miguna na wanasheria wote wenye wako hapa, asanteni kwa kuja. My question is one. We cannot postpone, or rather, you can correct me. Are we able to actually postpone or just say, hey, because the main thing that we've been having in Kenya is the looting, okay? And the looting is like, I can't even explain, to an extent of us not being able to pay our bill. And it is not that Kenyans are not paying the bill, it's because our money is being looted. So here is my question, because we cannot postpone, whatever the amount we have borrowed, we cannot say, hey, hatutalipa hizi pesa. What can we do? So this is what that's one of my questions. And then the second question for me is that we have a lot of corruption, and that's the reason why we have not been able to foot this bill. And majority of this bill is actually arguable that we had paid and whatnot, but I don't want to go to that. So when it comes to the looting, just like we have witnessed a Ministry of Health working parallel to the main Ministry of Health, for lack of better word, what Hanifa has been doing for for the people that have died, may God rest their souls, is like a ministry, a totally separate ministry, while we have the mainstream ministry that's supposed to be doing this, compensating the people that have died, following up with their funerals and consoling with them. It has not happened, but we have seen from the contributions of Mwananchi, everything has been working smoothly, and majority of the people, actually everyone so far, has been compensated. As the rest come in, we hope that this can be sorted. So I am wondering, kunaweza kuwa na kitu kama bunge la wananchi ambapo we can have, because the biggest problem is that the looting happens, there is actually documentation, but then this documentation is not able to reach to people. And the biggest problem being that we have so many whistleblowers out there, but we are not able to reach to that information, or if they reach to that information, it is deemed that, it cannot be used or whatnot. If we can have maybe not a task force, I don't know what word that I can use. We can have wanasheria ambao can open a platform where even people in these ministries, they want to tell us, they want to tell the public, this is how this money was stolen, this is how this went, this is how this went. But they don't know, they don't have a way in which they can air those grievances. Like, for instance, Rais alitumia 200 million, 2.4 million per hour to hire a private jet from taxpayers' money to come to the US. We know there are people who have those documents, the legitimate documents, but we know we are not able to fight that. How about we can have an anonymous depository of those documents where they can be received and reviewed by attorneys, and then from then we can see how we will recover our money, because we need to recover the loot. Again, I'm speaking to the fact that we cannot just say, hey, we don't have a bill. We borrowed this money and Kenyans have to foot it. But how do we do it? We have to recover that money from those people who've been stealing. Watu wenye wana, waving 20 million in Harambes. We need to actually be able to know how to get that money back so that it can be paid back. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mkenya. Sorry, a Kenyan lady. There's a Kenyan lady and then there's Mkenya. Kenya, go. Please take a minute to just finalize. Mkenya, yeah. And
okay, thank you.
I've been now told that the sound that was confusing me was a token sound. Yeah, back to you.
Hey, Maj, jalipia token ya Germany. Okay, straight to it. I just wanted to tell this the message to Gen Zs who are here. I want to tell them one thing: we are on the right track. And when I'm saying this is it's 3.5% that brings the change. It's a rule, a 3.5% rule. You can read about it on Google about it. But what we are talking about, we are now in the 60%. So it means we are on the right track. I want to tell, I've listened to this conversation and I want to tell audiences, the thing now they can do to us is self-fear. They've done that and we are not supposed to buy it. That's the most they can do at this point. They've run out of options. And the moment, don't wake up and wait from Kenya Daima to tell you to be out there. It is your presence that will bring the change. That is what I want you to understand. Your value, it doesn't have to come from an influencer telling you to be out there. Don't wait for Marge. Don't wait for Miguna. Don't wait for Kimuzi. Don't wait for Anifa to tell you to be out there. I want you to be out there because your present is changed. That is what I want every Gen Z to understand. On 16th July, that is next week, let's all meet in all major towns. Be there, be present. Your presence is the change. Thank you. That's all I had to tell my fellow Gen Zs.
Thank you so much for that. Dr. over to you.
Yeah, Maj, I want to emphasize there are protests tomorrow. Let us not focus on the 16th. There is one tomorrow. They have been trying to divert people's attention from tomorrow. The 16th is meant as a red herring to divert attention from tomorrow. You can still have protests on the 16th. You can have protests every day. But there is one that was organized for tomorrow. But I think there are people who are pushing it off and trying to postpone it. We shouldn't allow that to happen. I also wanted to say the issue of debt we have dealt with here repeatedly. Legally, you are not allowed to pay illegal debts. I don't know why Kenyans believe that if I take debts illegally, then I can encumber the entire country to pay it for me, even when I steal that debt and put it in offshore accounts for my family. Kenyans are not responsible for debts that were taken illegally. And they are also not responsible for debts that have been paid many times over, but are still in the books because the IMF and the World Bank and our crooks in Nairobi have conspired to continue stealing from the country. Those are odious debts. We have no obligation to pay them. Number 3, we have been through this already. We know of trillions of shillings that have been stashed abroad and some locally. We are demanding that this is the money that once we get Ruto out of power, because he can't do this, we should be able to locate this money, repatriate it back to Kenya, and pay back legitimate debt. The rest we should use for developing our country. Ruto and his thugs do not own us. They do not own Kenya. We are not slaves. Ruto is not a king over serfs. Kenya is an independent country, a sovereign country, and we must exercise our sovereignty directly by telling Ruto, we are sovereign, we are free, nobody is going to enslave us. And this language of slavery, which I hear a lot on these spaces, we have to liberate ourselves from them. Let us not talk like Ruto chains us somewhere and forces us to do these things. If he wants to pay the odious debt from the money that he has stolen, let him go ahead and do that. They have stolen enough. Let us say enough is enough.
Thank you so much, Dr. 6,000, I see you. But kindly allow me to put Enoch first. He'd drop. People are dropping. They're requesting for the mic and dropping. Even me, I dropped at one point. So
And Maja, I
Enoch,
think the CJ was supposed to come back. He was looking at the constitution and he wanted to come back and answer some questions.
yes, I cannot see him on the mic. Kindly check with him and then I add him so that he can answer. Yeah, I can't see him on the mic, on the request panel. Yeah. So now Enoch and then Ahmed and then 6,000, 2 minutes each.
Okay, I'm counting my time. I think it is clear, and we are making a statement to all African readers, not only Kenya, that as young generation, we have gone to school, we are learned, we know what we want. We want good leadership. We are where we are because of the bad leadership we have been experiencing before, and the backdoor agreements all these bad leaders have been making before. That's why we are in this bad situation. You cannot tell me that, like today, there it was all over the news. Uh, we cannot account for 1.3 trillion which have been taken in the last 11 years. We cannot account for it. Imagine how much that money could have been done, how many new cities it could have been built, how many development that money could have done, like that this young generation could be having jobs, so they can focus on their jobs and not these demonstrations. It's because their leadership has failed. Corruption is like the engine of this country. These are the things we want them to we want these leaders to understand. We don't want them to be involved with us. What we want is change. They all of them must go. Another thing is, I really don't know. I saw there are some prominent guys here. I wanted to ask something. What happened to Konza City? What happened to Tatu City? I think like Konza City was supposed to start in the year, I don't know, 2011, 12, 13. What happened to that? All these beautiful projects that really come to Kenya, what happens to them? Why can't we see some developments that as young generation we can say like, yes, we are proud, this is our country? Why are we not talking of new airports in Kenya? Why are we not talking of subway stations in Kenya? Why are you telling me that I have to visit Dubai to experience the first class I don't know, development, how it feels like? Those are the things we want to experience them here in Kenya. We have the resources, we have the capacities. It's only that we have bad leadership. I just want that question of corruption, how we can tackle corruption in a better way. Number two, we have an issue of pending bills. I
Oh,
understand, and
that we
okay.
we discussed that intensively, Enoch. We discussed the pending bills, but please do land in 1 minute. I'll share with you. We really discussed it intensively. Please do in 1 minute, and kindly let's try to stick to the topic. No dialogue, no retreat, no surrender.
Yeah,
Yes, back to you, Enoch. Yeah.
yes.
I cannot hear you. I hope I did not distort your thoughts so much. Sorry. Yeah.
The train has already left the. We are not boarding. We are not stopping. We are moving. No dialogue, no surrender. We are moving forward, and that's what we want change in this country of ours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Enoch. I'll send you details, or maybe if you check the recording, you'll find detailed information about the bills you're discussing. So, Hillary, who was next? I think Abdi, Ahmed, and then 6,000. Abdi, 2 minutes each.
But I thought we were coming to a close anyway.
Yes, we are. Okay, fine.
No, it's okay. I mean,
I'll
let
be
them
quick,
speak.
less than a
Let them
minute.
speak.
Okay, guys. Okay, fine.
Okay,
Let's have
thank
those
you.
on the panel. Okay, those speak, and then Dr. will close. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maj and Dr. and Hilary and everybody. Mine is just quick. It will be less than a minute. My take is we all ended up here because of lack of public participation and the government that did not want to listen. Gen Z has shown a remarkable unity and focus. How can we ensure they continue to avoid division along tribal line or political line and maintain their momentum in building a new Kenya? And that leads to my other question is what strategies can be used to protect Gen Z from this, from being fractured by politics and ensure it remains unified and progressive force and to reduce their vulnerability to political manipulation? Thank you. And I think Alhaji Mutunga talked about that in the beginning, and I'll still get back to the question back to him. And for those few questions and remarks. Thank you.
Thanks. 1 minute to Ahmed and 6,000, and hopefully by that time, as we close, Dr. Miguna would have gotten us back Dr. Mutunga to also close. Minute each.
All right. Mine is mainly to reiterate the statement that have been said all along for the last 3 weeks. The Constitution of Kenya is very clear. The sovereignty belongs to the people, and the people are us, not any other person who is in their imagination. And number two is that when we say the sovereignty belongs to the people, is that this sovereignty is the sovereignty. Sovereignty means here a right to determine self-determination, how we want to be ruled and whom we want to rule us. As long as it is within the constitution, we have the power. And in this protest, is yes, within the constitution. Article 37 was not just put there out of nowhere. It was put there out of necessity, out of situation that we faced before. And therefore, no one should sell us anything that there are laws that stop us from doing any other thing. Then number two is that this is our generational issue. It is not an issue for dialogue. It is not an issue about any other person. It is our generational issue. And it is our generation to determine what happens and how we want to ensure that happens. And the only mission here is one, constitutionalism, two, transparency, three, accountability, and lastly, all that means is Ruto must go, and anything that he stands for on the hangovers of the Kanu regime. Thank you so much.
Thanks. 6,000, and then I'm stealing minutes here for you guys because ideally we are closing. 6,000 a minute, and then we'll have closing remarks. I see the Chief Justice is also back. Thank you. Go on, please.
Mad, I'm here first of all to condemn Kenyans because we are our own enemies. Because we can't be going on streets and there are people who are sitting indoors waiting for us to go there and fight for them. We are fighting for our own country. Guys, I'll tell you this. Kama mdosi wako amekukalia, mwambie you are a Kenyan before you started doing his work. And go on those streets and fight for a better Kenya. Nobody is going to sit indoors. Me, I'll tell you this for free. Tutoke si wote tuende streets, and that is how we will win this war. Mimi mambo ya kukuja spaces, we come on these spaces daily. We talk, we don't action. And the moment we don't action, the government beats us on our own game. Ruto is a strategist. Look what he did on Tuesday. Just put a press conference before Maandamano starts at 10 a.m. And that one, he has beaten you in that game because you have to wait for that press before you go to that Maandamano. If we could have been in town by 9 a.m. so that he addresses the nation while Maandamano has started, angetoka hapo kama amefuta cabinet. Angejua these people are not joking and they don't want to negotiate. There is no room for negotiation. Talking stage we have left for our girlfriends and our family. Right now, we are fighting for this country. And as a patriot of this country, kindly don't sit indoors and wait because you are being paid 20,000, 30, 50, 60, 70. What is 100,000? Go die for your country. You'll have a better tomorrow. You'll have a better paying job. Wacha kukaa kwa nyumba because your boss, I don't know, my job needs you. Right now, your country needs you more than anything. I'm just saying this because we've been talking here daily from Monday to Sunday on spaces, talking no action, the other time it was 10 million strong. I went to the streets with my brother Ayo and Kowino and we were there. On Sunday we were there. All protests, we always find ourselves there alone fighting for this country. But other people wanangoja waambiwe tutoke twende. Unangoja nani? Toka tukutane tao. Occupy CBD. The president should know these people. And I'm saying this with anger. And if there is anybody who want to arrest me because I told people to go out, come and arrest me. I'll gladly give you my location where I stay because I don't fear death. If there is nothing I fear, me, I don't fear death. I only fear my mother and God. The rest I don't fear. Na nikikufa anasema muende pale Jamia Mosque, mununue shuka ya 30 bob, munifunge kama nyama, muende munizike. Don't spend a lot of money on me. Guys, let's wake up and fight for our nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, 6,000. Time has really, really gone. Nation, just a minute and then we close. Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you, and I acknowledge Dr. Miguna in Berlin. When we met in 2018, he talked of the staying power of the youth, which we tended to oppose, but now it is real that the youth have the staying power. So kudos, Dr. for that foresight. So my question here is, don't you think that this youth Gen Z's revolution will be more lethal if we target the soft underbelly that has characterized what is normalized as the vice in the current political class, what I call materialistic consequentialism, in the sense that people don't say the end justifies the means, even if the means is impure. So can we fight this materialistic consequentialism philosophy and position within the political class? Because this is the root cause of rottenness in our society. And as I conclude, Professor Kivuta Kibwana yesterday on this space gave a very moving example of the youth, because of despair, unemployment, social pressures, are going for what we call aided suicide. They have been contemplating suicide, and that is why they are now daring the guns, the live bullets, so that it can be an easy alternative. They call aided suicide. So it is that grave, and we must act fast so that we can liberate the future for the youth out of this mass unemployment and economic disenfranchisement. Thank you, Dr. Rees.
Thank you so much, Nation. Now we close. So closing remarks from Tony Gashoka, then Dr. Mutunga, and then Dr. Miguna. And as they do that, let's not forget to build the network by following each other. So do follow the host, co-host speakers, then look left and right and follow each other. Tony?
Well, I want to close by reminding Kenyans that there was no greater army, more armed to the teeth than the Boers of South Africa. They had tanks on the street, they had machine guns, and even did the Soweto massacre where they murdered children en masse. By the end of the uprising in South Africa, they were running to remove Mandela from jail, forcing him to leave so that he can bring some order in South Africa. I want to give hope to this nation. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., only when it's dark enough can you see the stars. I also want to take this opportunity, because of time, to thank Hilary and Marge and all of you by hosting this space, because I tell you, even in democratic evolutions, we always talked about the fourth estate, meaning media. But media has transformed in the internet age to become where we are now. Where we are is where the people are. To create communication and information is what will create the resolve and the determination of our people to liberate themselves, so that one day we can say we are free at last, and thank God Almighty, we are free at last. With those very many words, I want to encourage everyone that every day we wake up, we must wake up with one conviction, that Ruto is no bigger than Moi and others who have gone before him. Ruto must go. And if you make the decision, the numbers of the Jay-Z, the numbers of Kenyans are in their millions. We will have more than 17 to 20 million votes by the time we reach 2027. Ruto will go, and Ruto must go.
Thank you so much, Tony. Over to you, Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you. Actually, I didn't drop off. When I was looking at the question that I was asked, I was still listening, and the answers came from Miguna. There was somebody called Degwa who also weighed in, and Neto. So I don't want to go there except to say we're talking a political movement here. So if there are, and I know there are some Gen Zs that, and I've been told by some people that there are some people who have gone to to court actually under Article 1, basically seeking to withdraw the delegated authority, of some institutions, and that they want to exercise their sovereign power, directly. Okay, it could be a strategy, but I mean, if certain GCs want to go the court route, and others don't want, I think these strategies have to be, to be discussed, because I think if they want to go to court, somebody is going to say that the judiciary can't deliver, the right judgment. There could be a debate around that. Let's flag that issue, as an issue of strategy. But fundamentally, I agree that what is happening is actually a political movement that even if it's going to use the legal path at any point, it will be doing that, to aid the fundamental, political strategy. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, and we keep talking. Thanks.
Thanks so much for coming and for sharing with us your knowledge. Over to you, Dr. Miguna.
Maj, thank you very much. I thank all the hosts and all the speakers, all the people who have listened in quietly, and those who have spoken. And I thank the Gen Zs and the millennials for leading the struggle. I want to say three things. Number one, this struggle does not belong to one generation. I have been on this already, and I think we should make this clear every time. This is the struggle of our ancestors as much as it is our struggle and the struggle of the Gen Zs and also the millennials. Because what our ancestors and our grandparents fought for during colonialism, we have not obtained. We don't have our land back. Our sovereignty belongs to us and does not have to be vested on us by anyone, but it's been subverted successively by successive regimes. For we need to get that. We don't have all the freedoms that we assert we have in the Bill of Rights, including the freedom of association, including the freedom to protest. That is why they are shooting at us, including freedom of the speech. That's why the president Ruto keeps attacking us, calling us violent when we are just speaking. Let no one tell us that because we are not Gen Zs, this is not our struggle. That's divide and rule. Don't let anybody tell you that CJ Mutunga is not a Gen Z, therefore he should not be speaking. That I, Miguna, am not a Gen Z, therefore I should not be speaking. That's parochialism. That's sectarianism. That's a divide and rule tactic. We must reject it because our struggles are based on the struggles of the people who are long gone. Each generation stands on the shoulders of the previous one. Without that, there is no need for a struggle and we can never succeed. So we should get that in our heads and reject these people who are bringing divisive messages and ideas into our heads. We are together in this struggle. We are not united. We are not divided. The fourth point is this, and I have seen it. As I have said before, they have made messages and they are spreading messages of confusion. Let us not allow ourselves to be confused. We could be demonstrating and protesting every single day. There is not one day that is reserved for protests. As I have seen, that they were saying that the previous protests of last week failed, but there were people in Mulolongo and other places that were protesting and were very successful. The protests are going on all over the country. It's not just in Nairobi. Let's make it organic. Let's continue to do so. Let's make it huge. And it does not matter if only a handful show up. It does not matter as long as we continue on it until we achieve our goals. I wanted to say that we cannot call the martyrs, the people who have been murdered by the state goons, as having committed aided suicide. That kind of language is dangerous. These people did not go to the street to die. Rex did not want to die. Denzel did not want to die. Onsongo did not want to die. All these people did not want to die. They went there. Yes, they were fearless, but they went there to protest in exercise of their constitutional rights. But they did not go there to invite the police to shoot them. When they die, we should call them heroes. We should not say that they committed suicide or they wanted themselves to be killed. No. They were killed by cold-blooded murderers. Let us call the killers murderers. Let us not blame the victims. Let's blame the perpetrators. The last point I want to make is basically in response to my friend CJ. CJ, I actually believe that going to court is not a good strategy because it attempts to validate something that doesn't need to be validated. Our rights under Article 1 do not need validation by the courts. This is something that I was being told when Uhuru Kenyatta forced me into exile. And people are telling me, oh, the courts gave you. The courts did not give me any rights. The courts simply affirmed the rights. So if somebody is going to court for the affirmation, no problem. But we should not make anybody think that if the court does not affirm it, therefore the right does not exist. Because the danger is, if you go to court saying, we have the right under Article 1 to exercise our sovereignty directly, what if the court says no? And then you give the regime the weapon now to attack you, saying the court has already ruled that you cannot do what you are doing. So therefore you fold and you call off the protest. I think that is not a strategy. That is actually naive. That is trying to buy into something that you have no control over. We already have the constitution which we gave ourselves. That's enough. Let's not look for validation from the courts because the courts can be used against us. We should only go to court for things that we are almost certain that even if the court rules against us, it cannot be used by the regime. That would be good strategy. So as I leave, I would like to say, I don't think that this organic, tribeless, leaderless movement should be controlled by anyone, including the ones that are spreading posters saying demonstrations can only happen on this day or that day, or between these hours and these hours. And that makes me agree with 6,000 who said the less spaces, the better. But spaces are important spaces for mobilization, for asserting our rights. But the more of us on the streets rather than the spaces, the better. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. No, have a good day. Have a good afternoon. For those who are where it is morning, have a good morning. Let us continue the struggle. A luta continua. Viva.
Thank you so much, General, and thanks everyone also for listening. And so now, Hillary, come on and close the meeting. As we wait for Hillary to close, Be Real, closing remarks. Oh, Hillary, are you there? Okay, Be Real, your closing remarks as we, yeah.
Good evening, Marge. Good evening, Dr. We appreciate you, the two doctors, for your input and your
your insights. I want to appreciate everyone that was in this space for the humble cause. And it's not a struggle. I say it's a journey destined somewhere. So let's keep it up. Let's keep on with the fight. The dawn is soon. Have a blessed evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Be Real. Hillary, are you there? I think Hillary had some meeting also in the parallel, so let me give her more time. Daktari, Daktari and Tony, thank you so much. Feel free to take a leave as I wait for Hillary to come on board again, because otherwise we it's only him who can close the space. As we wait for Hillary, I'll give you guys 15 minutes. So those who are waiting, just or Tony, do you want to say something as I give people 15 minutes and then we can close? Okay, so then let me add and then get Hillary. You. Okay, Kingsman. Kingsman, you haven't spoken. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe add on something that Daktari has said about us going to court. If you remember, there is a team that went to High Court when the CS for Defense deployed the military, and I think as that. Nini was making his submission or a submission on that day. I can't remember the gender very well, but someone came to the spaces and said that the magistrate or the judge at the High Court at that point was called in the middle of the Zoom proceedings that were happening at that time, and she went offline for like 30 or 40 minutes. And then when she came, because the constitution is very clear on when, as we've seen and I've even shared on the comment side of this our space, like when you can when you can deploy the military, and I think Daktari has spoken on it, and it was well elaborated. But after people went to High Court for determination or for clarity on the same, I think the judge went behind the scenes, and when she came back, she came with, I don't know how she mutilated or manipulated the judgment, and then she said that yes, it can be deployed on this and this and this, and that. I think that is the same day that the military was deployed across the 47 counties in the country. So as Daktari has said, that some of these things that you might go to court trying to get a determination, and then they end up being detrimental or working against you. Yeah, back to you,
Thank
Maj.
you so much. So, Tony, I see that you came back.
Yeah, yes, no, I dropped as you asked me to say a part in short. And I just wanted to say, Marge, look, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. We must not beat ourselves too much, because a lot has been achieved in less than 60 days of great proportions. I mean, you're dealing with a very selfish, rogue regime that really we must thank God that we've been able to bring some sense into the finance bill of 2024 that would have destroyed this nation through punitive taxation. We've been able to scare a lot of the members of parliament who now are thinking twice before they do anything else in parliament, which may help them police the IBC for us, because they are fearing how the Jay-Zs and how all of us are holding them to account. So remember that these demonstrations are not just targeting Ruto. They are targeting his enablers, the people who also will fall by the wayside. I want to remind this country, people like Musalia Mudavadi cannot sleep at night. They had succession plans. People like Rigathi Gachagua, all these people were lining up to be able to bequeath themselves power via Ruto in the future. Now comes this revolution that completely destabilizes them. And once you destabilize the foundation and the pillars of any building, cracks emerge. And engineers in this space will tell you those buildings will come down. And that is why I give this space the example of South Africa, because nobody ever believed apartheid could fall. because the boss had everything, including the military. So I just want to encourage everybody that this kind of communication we are doing, giving each other comfort and strength, is the way in which armies are founded. And that is how Britain was able to defeat Germany in the Second World War, because Churchill did not have a big country. He didn't have military numbers, but he had the heart of a lion, and he fought and fought until the last day. So I want to encourage everybody to believe that we can. And yes, we can, and Ruto will go. And thank you so much for this space.
Thank you so much for staying with us and for creating the time to come and speak to us. So guys, we've already closed. And so we're just waiting we've extended it by 15 minutes as we wait for Hillary to settle and close the space, because it's only the host who can close the space. So let's take this chance to provide the opportunity to those who have spoken. So take note that the official space has ended, but your questions, if you still have questions for Dr. Miguna and Dr. Mutunga, and also Tony, you could just pose them also, and then they will come and listen to the rest of the space and answer to you via tweets. Let's go by graduate and then Moses.
Well, thank you so much, for this opportunity. I had much to say, but unfortunately, my time is short. I want just to say one thing, that personally, as Gen Z, I'm quite disappointed by these self-appointed gatekeepers who are trying to gatekeep this revolution, and they are trying to call for some backdoor dialogue and whatever, which we have really spoken outrightly that we are not going to board. So what I would wish as comrades, we let us deplatform these guys. If we see some sellouts, if we see these politicians who are dining with the oppressors at the expense of the blood of Kina Rex, Kina Desert. Me, I was there on 25th, and I can tell you, many of the people who we are seeing negotiating and cutting deals have never been to the streets. So it's so disappointing to see comrade die as someone who live in Githurai and whatever. It's so inhumane to see some stuff. So what I can ask of us is, let us not give these people so platform. I've seen Wanga like today claiming that the Luos are not gonna be in the process. This is the tribeless movement. So ukisikia hizo ma sentiments za politician about this tribe, oh, I am telling you as your kingpin, don't come to the street. Please don't listen to them. We are tribeless. We are one people. Revolution has always been hijacked by opportunists, and you know them. I'm not going to mention them. So let us be focused, and I know God is going to see us through. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, graduate. You see, like when you live your day-to-day life, tribe mostly does not even take the center. You know, when you faint, when you're walking on the street and you faint, nobody's going to mind about your tribe. They're going to go like, oh my gosh, somebody fainted, let's help. But the tribe issue is mostly brought about by politicians when they need, then they need to use it, to divide and rule. So yes, I really underline your point and say, let no one, divide people using tribe. So Moses and then Mara, there's a lady I added. I wanted to hear a lady too, but she's dropped again. People are dropping. Okay, Moses and then Morara and then Pigeon. 2 minutes each.
Thank you so much, Maj. Thank you so much. I think I'll just be in line with what Dr. Miguna was actually talking about, unity. And to me, what I want to say, out of what we've seen from our leaders today, we are seeing people that are very selfish. And I think one of the speakers just said, we are not really coming here to fight about Ruto. Let me tell you one thing that we came into realization at the start of this fight. I know most of us didn't really come to know it, but it is something that really was not right with some certain individuals or leaders that we are having, who are so selfish, are so full of themselves, who are so much onto not even serving the people that really elected them. And we are seeing it coming out strongly, and there's so much mud into this movement and calling it names. So all I would want to encourage all of us is like, let's work together. Let us stand firm in our ground, knowing really what we want for this country, without any fear, any favor, like you're favoring somebody because this is somebody I know, this is somebody I support, this is my party leader. That is not going to pay your bill. That is not going to take you to the next level. It is not going to take us to the next level as a country. And Dr. said it. Let the movement stand strong. Let the movement stand focused under one thing. And what all we want as a country is so much, it's so very direct into actioning. The leaders know already what they want to do. Why do we want to waste time into the old tactics that have never worked? This is a new generation and it's a new era. And we have to come and stand for our country. We have to come and stand and let's bring all these people. We know we have all these leaders, even in our constituencies, our wards, our whichever countries that we belong to, are so much out here talking but doing less of work. And now by the time we are coming and demanding action, I know some of them are even already shaken and they're like, oh no, give it a dialogue. The other party is so much into wisdom and he knows, or when he speaks is right. No, that is not right. We all are leaders. These are just our representatives. And if people that we elect to come and do the representation they're supposed to do and they're no longer able to do it, let them just step aside. Let them calm down. And that is only possible by us coming and standing our ground. So this is
Yeah.
our fight, man.
Thanks so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Moses.
Thank you so much,
Let's
my
have
Yes.
Morara next and then Pigeon. And so kindly 2 minutes each so that others can also speak. We still have over 100 people requesting for the mic, though we were trying to close let's close the top of the hour. I hope by then Hillary will be back. If you have questions for Dr. Miguna, Dr. Mutunga, and Kashoka, do shoot. Morara?
Thank you very much. Some of you may know me from the speech that I did, where I mimicked what Ruto should have said when he came on stage and spoke to us. And I wrote a speech about how he should have spoken to the Kenyan people. And since then, I've had a very keen interest about how we proceed forward. One of the things I've noticed is that the fact that we are leaderless has both impacted us positively and also negatively. Positively in the sense that corrupt people like William Ruto, whose way of life is they buy people out and they bribe anything that works. They've been unable to find the leader of this revolution for them to bribe it, to bribe him or to buy him off. Well, the other the disadvantage of being leaderless has been that in some cases we've lacked direction, because, for instance, we've had very good opportunities that were wasted. Now, even as we are on these Twitter spaces, we should be aware that the NIS is listening in, and that the West are our enemies, especially the IMF, the United States, the CIA, and Cambridge Analytica. And these are very, very powerful enemies. These are people who have softwares that can analyze millions of social media accounts within minutes. Cambridge Analytica can actually create millions of fake accounts within a day and create fake content using AI. So we have very powerful enemies that are supporting this useless regime. And those enemies are going to provide them with information, with data. The only advantage that we have is that we have God on our side. It just looks like it's our moment that has come. So it seems even as we go to battle, God is ahead of us. So our enemies keep falling in front of our faces. Yeah. And sometimes it's not because of our own effort or because of our intellect or because of our ingenuity, but merely because I think God has also made a decision that it is time. Yeah. So I am really holding my heart in my hands and hoping that we don't fail.
I am happy that the dialogue flopped. I was really worried. When I saw it on TV, I was unable to eat lunch. I was unable to eat anything until in the evening when I saw most of the Gen Zs and millennials and people from other generations, they're actually not supporting those talks because I knew it's a trap.
Yeah.
Remember, whenever they want to slaughter us, they put us into a committee. And I'll give you two examples. When Raila was unable to convince his core principals to support him
But Morara,
to be the
it
running
was supposed to
mate,
be only 2 minutes. There is still over 100.
add me 30
So,
seconds.
yeah, so please take the 30 seconds to land. Back to you.
When Raila was unable to convince his core principals to support him as the candidate, what did he do? He created a task force, a committee with Adam Zolo and Mudhama. And you guys know the end of that story. When ODM tried real grassroots elections, you saw men in black. They came and scuttled the otherwise very peaceful democratic elections so that those party officials who walikuwa kina Babu na Mwamba and Joho and kina Oparanya, they don't get the mandate of the people to be leaders of the party. Then he gave them positions of acting secgen, acting deputy chair, so that whatever they receive is like a gift. It does not come as a mandate. So this is a book that Ruto has borrowed from Raila. Anything a committee right now is a slaughterhouse. The politicians of this country know what our problems are. Let them act upon it. If they cannot act upon it, let's act upon them. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Pigeon, then Kimutai. 2 minutes each, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and greetings to all of you. I'll say that we are not reformists, we are revolutionaries. We are not here to give punctures to where it is spoiled, to try to mend and bring or either repair the cracks. We are here to bring down the house. As reformists, we are here to bring a system that has failed us since independence. This is a system that has been here for 60 years. It failed our grandfathers, it failed our fathers, and we are not ready to wait for it to be failing us again. The people we are fighting today are offsprings of a failed system. And the good thing now they've been exposed, they call each other's brothers. Indeed, they have been brothers all along, and they're uniting. So they are awake and they're uniting. And therefore, we, the people, must also unite. No matter the resources they have, the mightiness and our commitment will make us bring them down. No matter what it takes, we will bring them down. Their days are numbers. They have eaten and survived on our sweats and our blood for 60 years. 60 years down the line. So my encouragement is very clear. We won't sit on the table with our oppressors. It is not about us versus them. It is us for ourselves. And the bloods of our comrades will never allow us to sit with them. The bloods of our comrades will always inspire us to move forward forever. So, comrades, it's just very clear that we will never give in to them. Never. Their tactics are failures, and we'll never allow them to fail us again. As I've said again, we are revolutionaries. We are not going to reform anything. We are not going to dialogue in anything. We are going to bring the whole Babylonian system down to build a system for the people and by the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pigeon, and also thanks for really sticking to the time. Kimutai, we go, and then Frank, and then Kelvin.
Thank you for the mic. I really, first of all, want to appreciate you guys. I've enjoyed the 2-3 hours of the space we had with Dr. Miguna and Dr. Mutunga, and of course the various interesting ideas that I've had over the whole space period. Quickly, I think I'll agree with with Mr. Pigeon. We should not relent. We should hold accountable this government. Secondly, we need to hold account our institutions. People fail. Systems and institutions do not. We need to really empower institutions. Thirdly, there has to be political goodwill at the end of the day. Remember President Kibaki, remember Matiang'i. We may not all like him, but I mean, if you look at the political goodwill that actually had to be there for things to get done, that is the kind of level of political goodwill we need. So we just have to soldier on, be forthright, have our objectives in order, be very, very courageous, and just stick to it until it is done. I yield my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Go on.
Kemotai.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was Kemotai, then Dr.
Frank.
Kelvin. And Kemotai,
Frank, but
thank
he's
you.
dropped. I
Frank.
see he's dropped. Let me add him. But as we wait for him, let's go to Dr. Frank had dropped. Let's go to Dr. Kelvin. And then, yeah, okay. But really, it's okay. You can take on. But Dr. Kelvin is not speaking.
No, I just wanted to highlight. I just wanted to highlight what Kemotai has said. I would really urge us to shelve ourselves a lot from fronting some certain names, because as much as they were performers, we really shying off from associating with anyone, because it would give them some kind of ideas, and we really want totally new blood with no allegations. People with integrity and people with reputable characters. So I was actually urging in another space that let us try to shy off from trying to front certain names. We know each and every leader that has actually walked the journey with full integrity and with a lot of reputation around them. So certain names were deliverers in certain posts they were given once, but at the moment, this is a new, fresh blood, and it does not tie anybody. That's why whatever happened during the day, was it yesterday, March, about somebody signing and fronting for dialogue? This is more than an individual. This is about Kenyans. So as you take the speakers, as you walk this journey, shy off from trying to front a particular leader. Go on, the next speaker. I can see him either. Dr. Kevin.
Okay, if you cannot speak, let's go to Kahama, then Fabish, and then Dan Risky. Kahama? Okay, Fabish? Can the speakers hear me? Probably they cannot. Those on the speaker panel, if you can hear me, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Then please go.
Thank you so much. You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Madge and Hilary, for taking your time and bringing us together so that we can continue, to discuss and chat our way forward. I don't have much to say because the speakers that have spoken ahead of me, I think they have nearly dissected everything. Mine is only just to say that Ruto never ceased to amaze everyone. It was barely 1 year ago when he was chest thumping and saying that there will be no dialogue, there will be no nusumkate, there will be no, discussion. What we'll be discussing with Raila is a journey to Bondo. Here he is now that he see that things have gone west. That now is requesting for dialogue to save himself. A leader who doesn't have principles. I remember the late Mwalimu Julius Nyerere when he says that there are some leaders that they don't have principle ambao wako na tabia ya umalaya. And I think it is a good description of our president. And what I want to add again is that what we see now, I fear for our country because we might even have a security problem because Ruto has created a lot of enemies with other countries when he go to put involve himself in Russia, talk of aggression of Palestine and all this, and yet here now, instead of even focusing on whether we might have external security threat, is just here fighting the normal citizens that they are asking for good governance and fighting for corruption, and want to better their country. Instead of focusing on external issues, now is focusing on internal, fighting his own people. This is someone that does not mean well for this country. And it is not something even to discuss. So when people are saying that Ruto cannot govern, Ruto cannot bring change, it's not because people are personal with him, but he does not have that capacity. I think he just ascended that power because of his selfish ego, to fulfill his ego. But he didn't have any idea. He didn't have any roadmap, to take us to another level. So, and I agree with anybody that we say we don't have any discussion. Many discussions we did with him during when he was doing campaign. Youth signed a lot of charter with him, and now it is over. He have failed, and he have failed. What he just needs is to be reasonable and honorably resign. That is what I can say now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fabish. We go to Sandra so that we can also hear a lady's voice. Sandra, over to you. Sandra, can you hear me? Then let's go to Dan Risky. Sandra cannot hear me. Tony, can you hear me? Okay, whoever can hear me on the panel, please speak the mic. I think we're having some issues here. Be real. Can you hear me? Tony, go.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Uh, Mine will be very brief. I want, first of all, to congratulate the young people who have stood in this cause and fought relentlessly for this wonderful cause. For 21 days, you have, quote unquote, been able to hold William Ruto incommunicado. In Kenya, he has not gone anywhere. Something that he has broken record for the last, I think, 1 year or so, because he has been, flying all over the world. So it's a good thing that your voice has been heard, and don't be scared for the cause that you're fighting for. Because someone said that if there is nothing worth living for, if there is nothing worth dying for, then there is nothing worth living for. So young people, continue with the same spirit. Those who can fight on the street, do it. Those who can do it via the mainstream media, do it. Those who can voice through writing, through newspaper writings and all that, those who can use all other means, please do whatever you can in your disposal so that this message can go a long way. All that we are asking, and it is not too much to ask. There's something I had written like 2 days ago, I think, about a theory called the dead horse theory. When you realize that you're riding a dead horse, the best thing you need to do is to dismount it. And you find many times people trying to fight, or rather to come up with other means of trying to do it. They try to set committees to investigate this dead horse. They try to go to other countries to see how you can ride dead horses, all manner of stupidity, but the honorable thing is to dismount it. William Ruto has realized that he cannot, he lied too much to people. He tried to tell them that I'm going to do this in 60 days time, in 6 months time, and all of a sudden we have seen, he has no capacity to do it. There's this lady who said that if someone shows who they are, you better believe them the first time. Most of us who supported William Ruto, we were deluded by the fact that the guy had perfected what we call the wedge politics. He learned the wedge politics proper and in the best way from Raila Odinga. When in wedge politics, you try to allude the problems to somebody else. Like, why you are poor? It is because of this person. You know why you are disadvantaged? It is because the opportunity has been taken by this. So William Ruto perfected that. He said, why you the hustlers are poor? It's because the dynasties have been here for so long. We need to bring them down, and he was able to successfully do it. Then when he took power, he said, why you guys are not having houses? Is because those people who are having payrolls, they're not paying enough taxes. Let us charge them money to build houses for you. You know why this is being done because of this? It's because of this and that. He perfected that to bring the division. Now he was trying to, the card that they are trying to bring, which has backfired, is that you are not a villager, you are Kenyan, you are forever. So they have tried to coin something to show to draw a demarcation between two categories of people. But now the Kenyans have realized, led by the young people, that these are not ordinary people that we are talking about here. These are people who have united to take advantage of us. And as I conclude, there's something I had written yesterday about the book that was written by Moi's aide Lee Jiro. You know, he narrated a very interesting story that Moi told him, that if you take your dog to the forest to hunt for foxes, wolves, and jackals, you must always remember that the dog is a distance cousin to the foxes, wolves, and jackals that you're going to hunt. So you are the odd one out. There is always a chance that the four animals may reunite against you. And that is what we saw yesterday in KICC. The dogs, the foxes, the jackals, and the wolves, they reunited on this IBC issue. You know, all politicians are distant cousins. And we, the people, are the one who are odd ones out. And unless we speak one voice, unless we speak with one voice, make one stand and united move, we will not win this war. But if we stand together without divisions, we are going to make these people respect the money that we pay for our taxes, respect the positions that we give them, and know that the power belongs to the people. If 1 million people appear in Nairobi today, there is no power, there is no military power that can dismantle these people. There is no police power that can kill 1 million people in Nairobi. So it is only a way of being united that we need to have. Be united, speak with one voice, and msimeona venye wamekuja mkia. Everybody now is speaking like, let us listen to these people. Because the power is with the people. And the moment we realize that, and we have started realizing it, and we have started actualizing it, we are going to win this war. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tony. We are unfortunately not adding any other speakers because we are finishing at the top of the hour. So the speakers on the panel, please do take, let's say, a minute each to say something. I know the minute is not as sufficient, but we're closing at the top of that, so we have like 10 minutes. So Sanyu, Nderito, John, Dan, Scree, in that order. Sanyu is not picking up. Sanyu Kennedy. Then I go to Nderito. Nderito Njiraini. Okay. Also not picking. John Wanyama. Seems like no one else can hear me. In that case,
Can you hear
yes,
me?
Nderito, I can hear you now. Kindly proceed. 1 minute.
Am I being
Yes, you
audible?
are.
I liked the entire conversation we have had today, and it's a very forward thinking. But I'm thinking the biggest problem we have as a Kenyan government is that lack of ideas and lack of ways to move forward. Mostly based in the blue collar sector of the business of Kenyan economy, where I deal with mechanics and fundis. And I have realized the biggest problem we have is lack of skill labor. If a government will just move towards training our skilled labor, so that a person can do chips, microchips, a person
I think we lost.
this
Yeah.
country
Okay.
forward from. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah. Please. Please do land in the this minute. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, yeah. Also, the argument that that's the biggest problem we have: ideas of how to move this country forward economically, because it's not about government. Even though you change the government or whoever, they have no ideas. So also housing. The problem is not the housing fund. The cost is the cost of borrowing. How much does a house, even though it's 20 million, how much interest do you pay on the house? So those are the issues we should deal with. And as we continue in our arguments and in our discussion, we should deal with what is the problem. Housing fund is not such a bad idea. The problem is what is the cost of the house? Even though Ruto is building houses for 4 million, who can afford 4 million houses at the interest?
I think we lost Nderitu now.
Those issues
So
we are
they speak. Yeah.
we,
Okay. Nderitu, please wind up now. Yeah. And then we
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Why don't you let the person that can hear us continue so that
Yes.
we can close?
Yes.
Good.
So on the panel, if you can hear us.
Sanyo?
Yeah. Sanyo cannot hear.
Sanyo, Danrisk, Alexia.
Okay.
If you can hear anyone, can you raise up your hand so that you know the people that are on the speakers? John, are you there?
Yeah. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, carry on, please.
Thank you, guys, and I'm happy for the conversation that we have brought across the country, and everyone is really looking for this conversation each and every time. And as we continue with the conversation to the country, as we look for the peace of the country, I would like also, as you go on, we look into the issue of education. CBC is really suffocating parents. CBC is not working to people, especially in rural areas. CBC is just not really doing good to our children. Let's also, as we continue, since you have brought this issue of interrogating and asking everything and putting questions across, we have I've seen you not accepting just for someone telling you that this is a color that is green, not accepting that it's just green, but you ask which shade of green are you telling us, why that green. Can you also interrogate the issue of Health World Organization, the vaccines that they are giving our children? Why are we deworming our children now when we need food programs in our school? Why are we forcing it through schools? Why are we allowing HPV vaccines to our children, young virgin children? Especially when I look at my daughter, I feel so sad that someone is pushing this. When Uganda is not really accepting this and is on the verge of withdrawing almost 25 vaccines, when they are withdrawing HPV vaccine that is not really necessary to our girls. Can we also ask questions, especially
Yeah.
in US?
So,
They eradicated COVID-19. They eradicated.
John, may I
Yeah.
kindly interrupt you? When it comes to HPV vaccine, it's actually not a myth. Yeah. It is something that helps. The reason why it helps is that, and the reason why it's actually supposed to be given to both boys and girls. But in Kenya, it is only given to girls because the World Health Organization has put a policy there due to the reduced resources, so the boys cannot get that vaccine. The reason why they get it.
Let's just stop there, kindly. Let's just stop there. The question here is, what I'm saying is
I'm
that
the
we
host,
have
co-host
given
here.
ourselves.
Hold on. I'm the co-host here, and I'm speaking as an expert. It's not a hearsay. So let me finish my statement. So the reason why, because you see, misinformation is illegal in many countries. So the reason why I had to interrupt you is because you're spreading misinformation when it comes to HPV vaccine. So why do they give it to young boys and girls? They give it to you before you have contact with HPV vaccine. I'm going to give you people, I'm going to put the recording of the space we did on that. And so that's why they give it to the girls or the boys before they get to sexual contact. When you get to you have a sexual contact. So you're already having that, the access to the virus. And of course, it's not only, there are different types of HPV viruses. There are ones that are more lethal than the other. So please, I can produce enough papers to show that HPV vaccines is not a hoax out there and people are not being cheated. And if you look again, this is not what we are discussing at the moment. Another thing also, if just let me round up that. so that you understand it. So that I don't want to see a lot of Africans coming in, and that this problem that we have at the moment is even the medicine that we have. They're doing it, they're experimenting on white people. Because some of us down there cannot afford those things. So we should really try. Of course, we question, well, the corruption might come in when people are going to the ethics commission and things like that. But not all these things are bad. Polio, for example, if we all said polio is bad and things like that. So guys, let us avoid misinformation. If you want to have a space on that, we can gladly have another one, but you would need to bring scientific papers. We don't take the responsibility. We don't want to take the responsibility of misinforming people along health matters, which is a public health issue. And as we speak, Kenya cannot even afford the HPV for boys. So boys are not being given that. Tomboya, then we complete, because Tomboya, we finished. Tomboya was waiting. Tomboya, 2 minutes, and then Hillary, as we'd already closed the topic, the closing remarks. Tomboya, can you hear me? Okay, Hillary, close.
Just a minute,
Yeah,
Madge. I'm
Kingsman,
seeing
play music
Sanyo.
as we close.
Okay,
Just give
yeah.
Sanyo in space of Tomboya. He's
Yeah.
raised his hand.
Sanyo,
Just a
go.
minute, and then you can close. Sanyo.